Yes. It is Wednesday. You know what that means, y'all. Skinwalker Ranch review time. What's up, Mikey?
I'm good, brother. I'm so jacked up right now. I'm so excited.
Oh, my gosh. Woo. We just had somebody legendary pop into the room, and we were all very, very excited for him to be here.
It's pretty amazing, you guys.
As you may or may not know, the dragon is in the house. We're very excited for him to be here. He's going to help us review episode 2. We're going to talk about all the ins and outs of it. We've got some great questions for him on the way. And if we got time, if he's got time, let's see if we can get to some calls or questions from you guys. Do you got anything else to add other than, of course, check out our links below? Everybody's link everybody who's on the show today, their links are in the description below. Check out the Patreon, like, subscribe, share the channel, share the love, because we've got guests like this coming up all the time. By the way, Friday, May 28th, Lou Elizondo is confirmed. So we got him in the house. We're going to do a live interview with Lou Elizondo again, interview number 2. And then we've also got, for sometime in July, we haven't nailed down the date yet, another interview with Lou, but with just the dads. My dad, Lou's dad. It's going to be sick. It's going to be a lot of fun. So with all of that out of the way, what do you got, Mikey? Anything?
Dude, I wore the red tie today for the dragon. I thought that was keenly appropriate. So I'm damn excited, man. I'm stoked, and I'm also really excited because I just finished watching episode 2, and I was so much happier with episode 2 than I was with 1. I felt really bad last week. So,
all right, you can't backtrack now. Don't backtrack now because the dragon's in the house. All right?
No.
All right.
No. I that's what I said off air. I was so much happier.
Because it sounds like you're a little scared. Sounds like you're a little scared.
I was worried.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought we had Jazz Shaw in the house, but he might have popped back out. But okay. So first up on the docket, we have 2 ladies in the house. So let's start with the ladies, shall we? I'll start with someone new to the show. She just started us on the Skinwalker reviews. I think it'd be here every Wednesday for these, so this will be great. Without further ado, researcher, I guess you could call UFO Jane. Yes, is that fair, Jane? Can I call you UFO researcher? Because I think you are.
Yeah, researcher works, ufologist,
Boom.
YouTuber, you know.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have a show to watch right now.
Yeah. So, Mikey, you want to introduce our next lady?
Yeah, we've got the creator of Paradigm Shifts and host of Debriefed Digging Deeper, Cristina Gomez, ladies and gentlemen.
Miss Cristina Gomez. Hello, Cristina.
She's muted. Everybody's back.
So the next guy on, man, we're gonna have a really big roundtable today. Big panel. So it'll be a lot of fun. We'll get a lot of good questions. This next dude, he's gonna be a regular part of the show. He's gonna be stopping by all the time. He's got his own channel starting over at other than his insanely popular multi-million subscriber channel, Carl and Jinger, right? I got that right?
Yeah, you got it.
You nailed it. I nailed the name of the show because I've been watching the show, and it's all RC stuff and, like, you know, Mentos and Diet Coke bottles. I love it. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's wild.
And so he's starting his own channel. We're gonna be talking to him on his channel. And dude, we just got a lot of cool stuff going. And this is a very cool guy. Welcome, Mr. Carl Vibe. Hello, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked to hang out with all of you guys and enter the dragon and all of it. And I have been a fan of Skinwalker Ranch forever, so I am stoked to talk to you guys tonight. And I have so many questions I can't even hardly speak.
Yep. Awesome. All right, so the next man needs no introduction. I'm just gonna bring him out. He is the legend, Mr. Jazz Shaw. I mean, honestly. Jazz! Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this because I've been enjoying season 2 every bit as much as I enjoyed season 1. So, you know, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So the person everyone's been waiting for, the reason why we got so many people watching live, the legendary, the one and the only, the man that refuses, well, not anymore, to dig, but I dig him. Here we go. Mr. Brian Arnold, the Dragon. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thanks for having me on. I'm a little nervous because I did watch last week's. That's why I reached out to you.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. I'm ready and willing to chat.
I'm so humbled that you say you're nervous, man. Do you get nervous when you watch the show every week?
Only because, as you mentioned, which is extremely important, I know what we shot. I don't know how it's going to turn out.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we'll start with today's show is, look, we're doing a review. We're trying to give our critique of the show. So hopefully maybe somebody in production will look at it and say, hey, maybe there's a better way we could do this. Or maybe the show's perfect as it is, and we're just a bunch of idiots with opinions. It could be either one. But we're going to have fun doing it. And it was so cool when Dragon reached out because he's like, man, I loved it. I thought you guys had some really great opinions and critiques. And then you also understood that we're not the editors, we're not the producers, we're not the directors, we're not the History Channel. We don't promote the show. We have nothing to do. All we do is get in front of the camera, say what they do, and then they cut it and splice it however they want. But we can get some entertainment out of how they cut and splice it. And you had the humor to get that. So thank you, man. I thought that was so cool of you. And that puts you in such a cool light. I think it shows a soft side of the Dragon, that the guy has a sense of humor, you know? He's not all business and scowls with, as the show, portrays him. So where do you guys want to start with this week's episode? I mean, who wants to go first?
I have a quick question. I saw online that Brandon Fugel got injured and was in the hospital, and you weren't hanging out with him. I wanted an update on that. How's Brandon doing? Is he doing okay? And what the heck happened?
Did he force you? Did he force you to dig, Dragon? And did you pop your boss on the head?
Yeah, that's exactly. I don't have to say any more. No. People don't realize just how busy that guy is. I mean, you don't become the real estate mogul that he is without working insane hours and things like that. And so he was running from one spot to another and took kind of a nasty fall and split his brow open. And I was fortunately in Salt Lake and close by, so he reached out and asked if I could come help him out. So I took him over to get him stitched up. So yeah, I'm glad it wasn't worse. He was embarrassed by it and whatnot, but when you're
willing to go on record, Dragon. You're willing to go on record. It was not an attack by a Bigfoot or something out at the ranch. This was a mundane event.
I feel like this is a wasted opportunity. They really could have taken this opportunity to done something great.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to edit something in that's not real there, but no, yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Honestly, no, he's fine. I know he was back at it early in meetings and whatnot today, so it sucks. He had to have a plastic surgeon because it split his whole brow open here.
Wow.
And so,
Are you always a stone's throw distance away from Brandon Fugel?
Not always. It happened to be that I'm in Salt Lake taking care of some business and doing some things like that. And so it was actually fortunate because, he lives quite a bit south of downtown Salt Lake, and I was the closest person nearby. And so I dropped what I was doing and went and helped him out.
Right on. Well, it's good to hear that he's okay, but would send him our well wishes. I mean, he's been on the show. I would definitely love to have him back sometime because I've got a lot of political questions for him specifically. But yeah, all right. So let's start. Jeremy, by the way, Jeremy McGowan joined us late. I didn't know you were going to be here today, dude. Welcome.
I didn't know that I was going to have the ability to be here, and I've only got about a half hour before I got to get my daughter to jujitsu. So
jujitsu, yeah, cool,
man. Well, welcome. Miss the Dragon.
Yeah, no, everybody came out for the Dragon. Dude. Look at this panel. Jesus, God. I hope nobody else pops in. Yeah, it is totally Brady Bunch. All right, so let's start with last night's episode, which began. Michael, where did it begin? Gosh, I'm thinking of so many things.
We recapped last week, and then and the cool thing that I kind of missed last week, because you watched the show last week, Dragon, and I was the biggest critic But one of the things that I kind of missed was the object that they were able to catch. And then seeing that be recapped, and then kind of hearing about the rectangle object. I think it was like 2.5 by 4.5 feet or something like that, with that kind of shimmered orange and yellow. That was pretty fascinating as well. Did you get to see that? Did you see that dragon as well?
No,
I don't think he was there.
No, I was. So a lot of times after production goes home for the night, we'll grill burgers or whatever and hang out by Travis's Diva trailer. And no, it is. It's like they bring in this big ass tail for them. It's like,
this is so funny.
So we'll hang out there and grill burgers or whatever. And so they were still sitting out there. I actually went into his trailer and was talking to my kids on the phone. I've got 3 boys, and so I was talking to them on the phone. And next thing you know, Eric's banging on the door and said, "You need to get out here." So unfortunately I missed it. I went, we went and retraced and looked for things, stuff like that. But yeah, I wasn't a part of that. I wasn't a part of the initial, split second view or whatever. I know it shook him up bad. I mean, Caleb's a former Marine. He's a cop. He's a deputy sheriff with, the local sheriff's department. Travis is Travis, but it had him pretty shaken. Yeah, I didn't see anything, but it definitely shook him up.
Have you seen anything like that yourself on a previous time or another?
I haven't. I have not. I haven't seen anything like that. It's funny. I kind of for whatever reason, it seems like everything is quiet and mundane, and as soon as while I'm there, and then I'll leave the ranch for a weekend or a couple hours, and then shit goes haywire, and I come back and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So,
wow. Yeah. So the phenomenon might be fearful of the dragon.
I doubt that's the case, but we joke about that. It's like, why don't you stay away so stuff will happen?
And you've been there the longest, right, of everybody. Brandon, I guess. Do you have the longest history of the folks on the show?
So basically, when Brandon bought it in 2016, he brought Jim Morse, who you see occasionally, Uncle Jim with the vest and the hat, and the one-liners of where there's smoke, there's fire, or something like that.
Well, he was driving a really badass GMC like Tahoe in this week's episode, and when he was driving in the family that came in. Right.
So Jim was one of the first. Thomas Winterton came in shortly thereafter. Eric has been there since the get-go, trying to figure it out scientifically and basically, tech the place out, and then myself, from a security standpoint. So, I mean, that core 4 really is, we've been there since Brandon owned the property back in early 2016.
How did you connect with Brandon originally?
I've been friends with Brandon for 30 years. So
how did you guys meet? Because okay, first of all, are you Mormon?
So that's the story. So I'm not a practicing Mormon right now. So
me either, by the way. I live in Utah, and I'm not either.
So anyway, but so Brandon and I actually did meet as 19-year-old kids as missionaries. That's how we met. Mormon missionaries back then in those days, and we actually didn't like each other at all in the beginning.
I was about to say I heard Brandon talk about that in another interview. That until we didn't like each other. Brandon's version of the story was like, Dragon was fantastic.
Honestly, in the very beginning, I had been out doing that work for, I don't know, a while. He was brand new, got dropped in my lap. He was pretty uptight, and so it took a little bit of a getting used to period, but we honestly, as soon as we understood each other a little bit, we've been the closest of friends ever since then.
That's cool.
Hey, Dragon, one of the reasons I dropped in here is because I owe you and Eric and Brandon a giant apology, to be honest.
Okay.
I was really, really harsh and critical on you guys because, you know, with the Osiris, I've been trying to get access to Skinwalker, and I was talking to Mr. Winterton, and he had put me in contact with Eric, but I had always seemed to have gotten a stone wall with Eric, and I just kind of took it personal, and I started being super critical of the way that things were being run and being talked about, and I don't know if I use the word sensationalized or whatever, but now that I am also getting involved in some production things, I understand that a place like Skinwalker, shit doesn't happen on a daily basis. You know, you might have stuff that doesn't happen for years, and then you have a pocket of time where everything happens. So the fact that you guys are able to bring a television show about this is pretty incredible, and get some evidence is pretty incredible. And for an apology, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for dragging you guys through the mud, because I understand now how much of a pain in the ass it is to do what you guys are doing on a schedule for production.
Well, I appreciate that. And then honestly, that was some of the trepidation that all of us had going into this thing, because, you know, it's just like people that come far and wide and try to trespass on the property that we have to deal with, and all the time, they think that as soon as you step inside the gates of Skinwalker Ranch, that all of a sudden, you know, UFOs are going to start flying. There's going to be wolves, you know, climbing around, whatever. And it doesn't work that way. The place does not tap dance on demand. And there's months and months and months where absolutely nothing is happening. And yet, you know, there can be times when, you know, it goes crazy. So I appreciate that. You're definitely right when it comes down to it. But we really did have that reservation, because we said, well, what's going to happen if you come try and film and nothing happens?
And to be honest, it wasn't really until I talked to Colonel John Alexander, and he had given me his insights and his understanding of the ranch, and kind of told me that, you know, this takes years. It takes years to get the data from it. So, but if you guys ever want the Osiris on property, let me know and I will drive over there.
Okay.
Well, do you know what the Osiris is, Dragon?
No, not
okay.
No,
well, there you go. I mean, he's taken a Sky Hub, which is a really fancy camera system with hardware and software that's connected, that watches the skies and is able to differentiate between satellite systems, things like that. He's hooked it up to a Range Rover, and now he could go anywhere with this thing, and you could just park it there and watch the sky for a week, 2 weeks, a month, doesn't matter. Yeah. And it's mobile, so you know that he's doing a really cool thing. But you know, maybe we can get you guys in touch, and maybe we can form a better dialogue between everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
I know the data ownership is an issue, because you guys are definitely handling your data and releasing the things in the way that you want things to be released. And I understand that the end user licensing agreement with SkyHub is not necessarily compatible with that, but I'm also integrating a lot of other sensor equipment that I do have control over the data for. So if Eric wants to ever have a conversation about that, we can turn the SkyHub off, use the other equipment, and then you guys control the output of the data on that.
Okay. Yeah. No, Eric's always looking for a new widget or something else to monitor. And so, yeah, I would, you know, I'll let him know, and we can look at it. You know, when it comes to that sort of stuff, I always defer to him. He literally is the smartest person that I know. I mean, he truly is absolutely brilliant.
And this isn't me trying to get on the TV show.
No, I get that.
I would rather do this between seasons when the crew's not around.
Well, not only that, McGowan, but you're on this show. Sorry, you've kind of contracted to the Unidentified Celebrity Review.
You're not part of the circus,
McGowan.
Circus, McGowan, really.
Sorry.
Fair enough,
but
fair enough.
You're not pimping yourself out on my show, sir.
Something else. Can we get to the actual episode now, please?
Yes. Before we get there, Jazz, give me a second. We had a $10 donation. You're the man, Dragon. The lady loves you. I'm just never coming to visit. Keep on tracking, or keep on. Everyone's safe. I don't know what you wrote there, man. Sorry if I messed that up in the reading.
There's some hugs.
But thank you for the hugs and kisses and the loves. Okay, so let's start with the episode. We started, I believe, with the petroglyphs, right? You guys, we had, was it Ryan Skinner who came out to the ranch and looked at these petroglyphs? Or let me ask you, I guess I'll start off the question first. Were those petroglyphs, were you guys already aware of those, or did he find those?
So he's the one that pointed them out to us. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, if you have to really be looking for something. I mean, there's rocks all over that place, especially in that particular area with that desert varnish and everything, and without literally looking for anything. I mean, that's, when I'm going around the place, I'm not necessarily, staring at every rock.
Right. No. I was just wondering if you guys.
So initially, yeah. He definitely was the one that said, I don't know if this is anything, but it sure looks like something.
Right. Oh, cool. That's cool. All right. Because I was figuring that you guys had, or at least someone had scoured the entire, not you, because you're security. That's not your job. You don't know necessarily what to look for when it comes to petroglyphs and stuff
at one point they say, I guess who you guys are talking about, they say, see the big large rock over there? And I was wondering, like, did you see? I'm pretty sure did you see it?
And the other funny,
the one with the squiggly lines, I think.
And the other funny thing is when I noticed that, how B-roll and stuff like that goes, they kept showing a rock, and I'm like, that's not even the right rock. Not even the right rock.
Yeah, well, they've always, I bet what happened is they're like, that rock's actually not that big. Try and find a shot of a really big rock. Yeah. I don't know, and we'll throw that in there.
It's really interesting. A lot of the petroglyphs from here all the way through Nevada, all the way to the Grand Canyon and up to Skinwalker Ranch, prehistorically, the water levels were almost 400 feet higher, and so a lot of these are up cliff faces and stuff that was underwater, and they probably came down from above and carved them. But when you're walking down where all the houses and everybody in the roads are now, and where everything's established, it's not necessarily straightforward to look up and see that stuff, because they were coming down from totally different angles and pathways and ways of travel back in ancient times. And now the whole geology has changed. And so walking around, you have to kind of be intentional to find those things and go up really specifically looking around, especially when they're that old. And there's some right over here by my house that are very similar to that. And just south of Skinwalker Ranch and Sago Canyon, there's really strange ones that look like extraterrestrials or ant people.
Oh, yeah. 9 Mile Canyon, not too far away, down near Price, has got just scads of those things.
Yeah, and they're hard to get to even now when there's paths and everything. Sometimes you're like, man, how did they do this in ancient times? It's sketchy to get up here and around, and it's not necessarily straightforward when you're just walking by to just see one, because you never know if they were kind of hiding also and nervous when they carved those things, and so they kind of put them in not so obvious places to be seen unless you're really looking for them, for sure.
Dragon, on the petroglyph thing, you guys brought in an expert, and my wife and I were sitting there watching the show twice together, and it's like, wow, they got to bring in somebody who really studies this, and you did. He came in. I realize a lot of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor, but he came in, gave a lot of opinions, analysis, bouncing it off what you guys were doing. Did the expert that you brought in do any testing to actually determine the age of the petroglyphs? Because we've seen that with other American and European and other petroglyphs.
No, I mean, he didn't like take any samples of it or anything like that. I think he gave his opinion. Honestly, I can't remember exactly what he said age-wise. I apologize. We hear so much of that different kind of stuff. But as far
as, does this get registered with like the local tribes and say, did the tribes come in now and make a note of it and put this into their archives? And is there like a National Historical Society type of thing for the local tribal?
I know that, I mean, there are petroglyphs just off of property that are on Ute tribal lands that they won't let us go look at or film or anything. So they're not super fond of coming on Skinwalker Ranch. They've got, their superstitions and things like that. So one of the people that live there, you know, Tom and Candace, the caretakers, if you will, of the place. She's an anthropologist, so I know that she's working on some of that stuff right now. And you know, I can't give a whole lot more detail about it, but so I know that that's being worked on. This really came to light just recently that was even there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I know if you're building a housing development and you find dinosaur bones or something, everything comes to a screeching halt. But
well, it's funny that you say that, because in the basin, the Uinta Basin where the ranch is, it's a big oil and gas, you know, and I've heard stories of, you know, sheds full of dinosaur bones because they don't want to let people know that they've found anything. Because I mean, just down from there is Dinosaur National Monument. Yeah. Where, you know, you've got a whole mountainside that they've preserved with the bones still in them. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of stuff has happened where it's like, we didn't see that, hurry and paint over it, or whatever it may be, so that they don't stop the development. Because I know that that's a big problem with oil and gas, that if every time they ran into that, because I mean, that's what produces fossil fuels, right? So yeah, I get where you're coming from as far as that goes.
That's really interesting, the fact that they're literally finding these amazing things and not telling anybody so they don't slow down the drilling.
I've just heard. I don't have any personal knowledge of that, so I certainly am not going to, you know, say that that's the case. I've just heard a story that could happen.
Right. But I find it interesting because you guys, I think it was Rick, he said that when he was looking at those glyphs, he was saying that it looked like the Big Dipper and it looked like these different constellations. And then you guys brought in the expert, and then he said, oh, no, those are portals. And then Rick said, well, actually, they might be constellations. He's like, oh, yeah, no, they are constellations. And I was like, who's the expert here?
The Big Dipper in petroglyphs is used frequently to symbolize portals and opening portals in the north, and to pointing at the North Star and how it revolves around. And so it wouldn't conflict to say that's the Big Dipper and someone else to say that symbolizes a portal opening.
Maybe it's both.
It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, kind of like it can be. Yeah.
But Dr. Taylor, he shouldn't have said what he was seeing at first. He should have been like, well, what do you see? He was like, I see the Big Dipper.
Yeah, but Travis is never shy on opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy, and he wants you to know. So.
Yeah.
Cristina, you got a question?
I did, but I think Dragon really answered a few of them already, so I'm still thinking of them.
Okay, no worries. I just want to make sure you got the space.
I want to know how you got the name Dragon, and a secondary question to that is, do you have any dragon tattoos?
I don't, but it's a possibility that could change. So I'll give you the story behind that. So have you guys seen the movie The Princess Bride before?
Yeah.
So you know the whole.
I have that movie memorized.
Right. So the whole Dread Pirate Roberts thing.
Yeah.
Where, you know what, you're the Dread Pirate Roberts like 10 times removed. You know, the thing gets bad. So here's what happened. We had of all people, you know, Ryan Skinner came onto the ranch the first time as a guest. I mean, he'd been on that ranch multiple times as a non-guest. You know,
I've heard he's broke onto the ranch. Is that
true?
True?
Yeah, he did. That was during the Bigelow ownership era.
Okay.
And apparently, from what I'm told, and like I said, it's so bizarre how this even came to be, but that they had, you know, they used to employ former military guys, whatever, for security out there. One of them, codenamed Dragon, apparently he was an asshole. Okay, so I've got that covered at least. But,
I feel like I know where this is going, but keep going.
Anyway, so he was kind of introduced as kind of public enemy number one because of his past, right? Well, he made friends with Brandon, and Brandon basically invited him to come onto the property. He's smart because then that came along with a non-disclosure agreement. So, you know, Brandon's no dummy. So, you know, he was excited, he came on, but, you know, based on what I had heard and what I'd been warned about, you know, I was less than, you know, like warm in my greeting to him. And then he, you know, stayed longer than he was supposed to, so on and so forth. So I basically had to send him on his way. Well, apparently when he was talking with Jim Morse upon that visit, the first time, he's like, man, what's the deal with that security guy? He's kind of a hard ass. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, he takes this stuff seriously. We have all kinds of trouble. He's like, yeah, I think I've heard of that guy. I think they call him Dragon. And Jim didn't know any better. So he's like, oh yeah, he's the real deal. Like you like to say that type of stuff, right?
Right.
So fast forward, Ryan goes back to doing his online stuff and everything, and talks about his experience and that, you know, he met the security guard Dragon, you know, this hard ass stuff like that. So it starts perpetuating, and then Brandon gets wind of it, that, you know, and he's like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard, you know. so he refers to me as Dragon to people, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then entered the production company years later, and
they ran with it.
This is my head of security, Dragon, you know, and everything. And so, you know, that's what.
Oh my God, that was.
I love it. That's really what it morphed into. And so back to the tattoo question, I made a joke because honestly, when they started talking about doing a show, I'm like, what are you going to do a show about? You know, I mean, I said, hey, you know, he's like, no, this is going to be a big thing. It's going to be, I said, look, I'll tell you what, you want to call me Dragon? Fine. If we get to a season 3, I'll get a dragon tattoo.
Oh God.
So, you heard it here first.
Now is it going to be like Puff the Magic Dragon, or is it going to be like a nasty evil dragon?
Yeah, I didn't say how big it was going to. No, we'll see if he holds me to it or whatnot. But anyway, I know that's a question that comes up a lot. It's not a Step Brothers moment where I was a dragon, right? So anyway.
I can tell you,
Lewis, do we have time for a cow question?
Yes, please ask a cow question.
Oh, Dragon, this is one thing that my wife and I were going back and forth about, and
I know what's coming. And
minor preface: you're talking to a guy who's old and grew up in farm country and worked on some cow farms. So I'll go ahead and ask for everybody who doesn't already know what the question is. You showed on episode 2 the flashback to season 1, the cow that died.
Yep.
It was very clearly a heifer. There's various types of heifers. And that was a black and white heifer. And then you have the specialist out there, and you're looking at the hide of something that very much looks like a red and white heifer. So could you walk us through the disconnect there?
Yeah, 100%. So that, whether people want to believe it or not, that is 100% the same cow. So it was a black cow, died. That thing was sitting by, and I know it was the same cow because I had to deal with the thing. So that thing sat near the command center where we spend most of our time, near the residence, for several days while they were doing the whole, you know, bring in the vet. Well, they brought in the vet quick, but then getting Linda Moulton Howe out there and everything like that. And it stunk so bad. I mean, it was like the smell of death was the worst thing. So we hooked that thing up to the UTV and started dragging it. Now, we dragged it to the far corner of the ranch as we could and put it right against. I mean, there's kind of a funny story behind that, but I'm not going to go into it. But right as far to the southwest fence line as we could to get the smell as far away as possible. And that thing sat there, and it has sat and cooked and baked in the sun since August of 2019. And so I'd like someone to take a piece of black fabric and go out and put it in the sun for almost 2 years and see what color that thing turns. I will swear on my children's grave, that is the same cow that died, that we dragged it out there because I dragged it there, and I've been checking on it ever since.
I don't want to say I'm calling you a fraud. Working on the farms, I will tell you, when you have an animal that dies, whether it's a cow, one of my other uncles raised huge pigs, if they die of natural causes, you can't sell them, you can't butcher them. And we did drag them out and leave them. Although normally carnivores come in and
right,
just
and that was the
them out
reason
really
why.
quick.
That's the reason why it's been so strange. Literally, that thing. I mean, I've nicknamed it Old Shoe Leather because that's what it's turned into. It has. I mean, the bones hadn't been scattered. There was nothing. I mean, we've had other animals die out there, and they're gone in days, bones and everything. In days.
Right.
That's
the usual thing.
So strange.
I found that shocking, but just the color change is what struck me.
I know, and you know what? I've heard a lot of chatter. I try not to look at social media too much because it's usually people hating my guts, which whatever.
Because you're a terrible person.
But why fake that, Dad? Yeah. Why not? If you're gonna fake something or try to recreate something, why not?
No.
This is
I'm just saying
weird
it was
of a
visual cue.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question, and you know what? I didn't even notice it. I didn't notice that.
Because Jazz has the eyes for it.
Yeah.
He knows what he's looking for.
You're in the minority because, I mean, it's been a lot of heat. You know, I've had even friends say, "Why did you show a different cow?" And I tell them, hey, you go out there, you can still see. I mean, there's still shreds of the tarp that we wrapped it in to drag it out there.
I saw that. Yeah.
And its legs are still duct taped together because we basically hooked it up to a chain, hooked it on the trailer hitch, and had to drag it. We got stuck a few times.
Which is what you do.
Awful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about portals. Is that okay with you, Dragon? Just have a quick question on it, without giving away any hints of what to come in the show. I know episode 3 is going to talk about it, but what is the frequency of those events occurring? I mean, are they like similar? Do they happen frequently, or is it one of those rare things that occur there?
They're rare. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
So, do you guys have any drones on standby, something to get into the air and fly towards such things on the fly?
So, gosh, I'm trying to stay in line with my.
What you're allowed to tell us.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Let me put it this way: it's probably safer for me, so I don't get in trouble because I'm fine talking about it, but it's probably better if we talk about things that have happened either on this season so far, these episodes, or even last season. I'm fine to address any of that kind of stuff. But as far as anything to come or things that haven't been revealed, I have to tread lightly there because I get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Dragon, I've got a quick question for you and I've got to bounce here in just a minute or two. I have gained access to Space Wolf Research, which I believe is one of your all southern border neighbors. I haven't been there yet, but when I was negotiating with them to get access to the property, they said I could do basically whatever I wanted to on the property, but don't take any pictures of our neighbors to the north, which they were referring to Skinwalker. And I asked why, and they said it's because of national security. Does that make any sense to you whatsoever, or is there a reason that people off property shouldn't be taking pictures of the ranch from that location?
There's nothing, as far as I know, as far as a national security type of thing. They may be saying that because of their own security, just because there's been a little bit of strained relationship there.
Is that why the cow was put on that end of the ranch?
That's exactly why.
I figured it out.
I am already so sorry I brought up the cow. Oh my God.
We do have a $5 donation with a question. He says, off topic kind of question. How many trespassers do you guys have to deal with on a monthly basis?
Well, I mean, technically anybody that drives down to the gate is trespassing. If I had to count those, it would be hundreds.
Wow, that's probably as stressful as anything else.
It ever since this TV show's aired, it's become, a pretty daunting task to try and again, we don't necessarily sweat that too bad. As long as people are respectful. I mean, if you pull down the road toward the ranch, there's a big, huge stop sign that says stop. You go past here, you're trespassing. And then there's another a few hundred yards before you actually get to the gates. We have a turnaround area so people can turn around there and head back out. But you'll still get the people who drive down to the gates, jump out, and do the selfie in front of the gate.
Like Area 51.
And so, I guess you could consider that trespassing on property. Unfortunately, we do have those as well. The thing that's really hurting, obviously, we don't want anybody to get hurt or mess with the scientific integrity of what's going on by, because every time that there's a human interaction, then we have to go back and recheck data and everything like that to see if it was, something that we should be excited about or something else. But we're surrounded by Ute tribal, land, and we've tried to make really good relationships with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Ute tribe and everything. We've done that for the most part. But when you have people, because of their interest in the ranch, trespassing across tribal land and things like that, they don't like that. Yeah. And so it hurts us in our efforts to be able to, play nice and have their cooperation, have them help us out when you've got people that don't give a crap because they want to go, have their experience or say they set foot on Skinwalker Ranch and things like that. So, it makes it difficult in that regard, but we definitely have trespassers. For the most part, it's just, like I said, the looky-loo types that are, want to get a glimpse of the gates or run down or get their thrill because they got close and then take off again. But there's others that, get on property and we find signs of that. We don't always catch them all, but, we find signs of that sort of stuff.
Dragon, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to bounce. So thank you, Dragon. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Jeremy.
You as well.
Jazz, Carl, UFO Jane, Cristina, Michael, Lewis. Thank you.
Later, McGowan. Quick question, Dragon. So what's the timeline? What's the production timeline? Like, for example, obviously episode 2 came out today. When, what's the drop time between producing that or actually filming that versus when it actually drops?
So we filmed this year it was an interesting year because of COVID. We didn't even know if we were going to be able to do it.
Right.
And so, it took a while, especially with the majority of the crew and, production being based out of California. They didn't even know if they were going to be able to get out of the state. So the fact that, we were fortunate to be in a very rural area that has still had very, very minimal even cases of the virus because it's so open. We're out in an open area, they allowed us to do it, but it did set production back a little bit. So we started about mid-July and filmed through the middle of October. It was long. It was long.
Was it longer than season 1?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
So yeah, there's 10 episodes this season versus 8.
Right.
Which is great.
And plus, the fact of the matter is they just, they wanted to just get every last second out of what they could. It was long, and I know the production crew, it was long for them because they were stuck in Vernal, Utah, couldn't get back on an airplane, go home, everything like that. You get tired of eating at Wingers and Wendy's, so many times. So we finished in the end of October. I know that they had some of the episodes at least, into their fine cut way sooner. But a lot of when it drops, it depends on the timing that History Channel wants when they see the best release time and things like that. I know this go around, they wanted to slot us in the Oak Island time slot at 7 p.m. after the first episode, which is good for us. But, then again, it pushes everything back to, whether or not they're going to want a season 3 or how that's going to go.
Have you ever
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jane.
I know you have a much smarter question than me, Jazz, but I have a more.
No, I don't think I'm anywhere near your IQ, so you go first.
No, just wait for it. Have you ever met the Oak Island folks? Like, do you ever hang out or share stories? Okay, so it's totally siloed between Skinwalker Ranch.
No,
there's never an end of the year history party show channel. Like, you know,
you're not all out there with shea bottles, you know.
So it's interesting. So Prometheus Entertainment, that produces our show, are also the producers of The Curse of Oak Island. And so, you know, in the beginning, we would always joke with those guys about, you know, we found more in the first week than they found in however many seasons on Oak Island, or, you know, the joke of digging, maybe we'll find the Oak Island treasure because they're not. I mean, it's just that banter, you know, back and forth.
It's almost like firefighters and police officers.
Like you can't dispute the success of their show.
I love that show. I've pumped that show so much on this channel.
I've never heard of it.
Well, you mentioned the data thing, Dragon, and I got a good question from somebody else. Okay, it was my wife. But I don't know if you're involved on that end of it that much, but has there ever, to your knowledge, been a full LiDAR, you know, aerial data map of the entire ranch, of the entire area, to look for underground structures? And in addition to LiDAR, you know, has there been any other general mapping? Who was the guy? Hang on, let me bring it up. The guy who collected all that stuff that got dropped off. Hicks, yeah. All the Hicks data. In addition to the LiDAR question, is all of that Hicks data, has that been transferred to someplace online that's available to the public? Because my wife was like, wow, I would like to look through all of that. So do you know anything about the LiDAR data or the Hicks data? You know, has it been taken? Has it been made public? Can fans go and find it anywhere and look through it themselves?
How many questions does Jazz get to ask?
So
one
be
big
quiet, Mike.
So without getting myself in trouble, we've done. You'll see, we do a lot of different types of surveying things, without going into detail. So
that's coming.
So up to this point, that has not happened. Is that what you're saying? LiDAR, no LiDAR yet?
Oh, it has happened. Well,
it has.
It just hasn't been revealed.
Oh, we just got it. We
released.
No. LiDAR happened in season 1, but they dragged it on the ground. They've never done. At least they haven't shown.
Well, that was actually GPR. That's
GPR. Correct.
Right.
But I don't. They definitely haven't done LiDAR from a drone yet. That's for sure. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
It's safer than digging, but being surrounded by Ute reservation land, have any local members of the Ute tribal community approached you directly with warnings or suggestions about digging on the land there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. No.
Have there been any other warnings?
So you'll if you've watched season 1, I'm assuming as well. So you remember before they even did the little core drilling that they did near the homestead, we had Larry Sespooch, who's a member, you know, he's a Ute medicine man type, come out, and he did, you know, kind of his blessing with tobacco and things like that. But, you know, he said unless you have a reason, you know, there's no good reason to do it, because, you know, we don't know what's going on here. He feels things. And so he was a little bit hesitant about it. After he did it and said he felt okay about it, then that's, you know, kind of when I felt a little bit better, at least about doing that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, you know, they don't think that you should just do anything just for the sake of doing it. And digging is one of those things.
Have you brought any other shamans to the ranch?
Yeah, we have. We had one other gentleman for season 1. I don't know why, you know, I don't get to edit the show. There's a lot of stuff that I thought was really, really cool that we did that to me was more along the storyline as opposed to just science experiment after science experiment after science experiment, because that's what I actually enjoy, you know, that sort of thing. But for whatever reason, either it didn't fit the storyline or whatever that they were trying to put out there. So yeah, it's definitely important to us, and that's really where Jim Morse's value has come in. He's made really great relationships with a lot of the tribal members and individuals, you know, along those lines and in the community. So, but you asked, Jazz, you asked one other question about, what was it? You asked about LiDAR and things like that. The Higgs data.
The Higgs data, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what? That actually belongs to the Higgs family. It took a lot, for whatever reason, for them to even allow us to look at it ourselves and to talk about it and have it on there. So they have not handed that data over. That ultimately is theirs. It's precious to him. Junior Hicks was such a cool guy. I loved when he'd come out of there and talk about stories. He was amazing.
Just I wasn't asking, saying like, oh, you owe that to us. It's just like there's probably a lot of fans that would be like, wow, if that was online,
you know what? And honestly,
go look. You know,
for our own personal use, I would love to have copies of it. I know Eric would and everything, and I'm sure that if we asked them, they'd let us see it again. But as far as being able to log it and keep it, you know, they hold that stuff precious to themselves, and you know, I know it was years. I mean, it was 60 years worth of gathering that stuff. It's pretty crazy. Sure. They only touched on a small bit of it. I mean, he had, you know, he was a science teacher, and he would have kids that would have experience. He would have them draw pictures of what they saw, and then he kept a log of that kind of stuff, which was amazing to look at too. You know, I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff, and those people were very kind to come out, and you know, they were a little uncomfortable with it, but you know, I think it was more to, you know, memorialize and tribute to their father for all the work that he'd been done. And you know, it was kind of his life's work. He's a legend in the Uinta Basin. So yeah, it's definitely a loss.
There was a question from Ryan Sprague, and his question was, I heard one trespasser was handed over to the police and they had such a strange and traumatic experience on the ranch that they promised they'd never show up again. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it was actually with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They took them and they said that they were sick and they couldn't get away far enough, away quickly enough. So yeah.
Wow. Can I take a question onto that? I want to know, Dragon, and get into the juicy bits here. What's the scariest experience that you've had on Skinwalker Ranch? And then a follow-up question to that is, what is your opinion of what is going on at Skinwalker Ranch, in your personal opinion?
Yeah. So the scariest experience has probably just been times where I've been in parts of the ranch and all of a sudden, all the hair on my body will stand on end, and it will I just get this overwhelming, like, fight or flight sense that there's something there that I've got to get the hell away from. And so I do.
I'm like a feeling of being hunted or something like that.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, I've had that before.
Yeah, almost something like that, to where it's really dark. I mean, we don't show a lot of Homestead 3. Sorry, apparently the lights go out at 6 o'clock in this office borrowing. So sorry about that.
No worries, man. You're good.
It's a poltergeist. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So, you know, we don't show a lot of Homestead 3, which really technically should be called Homestead 1 because it's the oldest of the structures on the property. You know, we focus around Homestead 2 a lot and things like that. Well, there's another Homestead to the west that's right on the western border. I hate that place. It seems like every time I walk around there, I just get so creeped out, and so, I don't know, I just get the most ominous feeling that either some really bad shit went down there, or that, you know, there's just a bad presence, or whatever it may be. So, you know, honestly, those feelings are what has scared me the most. The weirdest experience I've had was I was laying in bed, in the command center there's a couple of bedrooms as well. Obviously we don't show that. I was just laying there, you know, looking at my phone, and it was like somebody came up and kneed the side of my bed. Like, you know, if you've got kids and they've ever come and bumped into the side of your bed before and it shakes you around and everything. I mean, there's no one around. All of a sudden, boom, just shook my bed. So I looked around to see if there was nothing going on. And, you know, it was just that one thing, but it was a physical manifestation of something literally feeling like someone had just run straight into the side of my bed. So needless to say, I didn't sleep
like a poltergeist experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, that's probably as far as, you know, an actual experience, physical experience. But other than that, it's just, you know, that sense, that feeling, that, you know, that need to get the hell away from an area. You know, and I'm not proud to say, yeah, I'll get the hell away from here.
But do you think that fear and the respect you have for that fear, maybe the reason that you don't see as much, you know, because
it's possible. You know, I've wondered that. I've asked people, both, you know, natives, whatever, and they just said, you know, we get the feeling that you're there to do a job, and that's to, you know, protect the individuals on the ranch, as well as, you know, the ranch itself from people that want to get on there and cause trouble or destroy things or whatever it is. And, you know, maybe the ranch actually likes you. So I don't know what it is. I can tell you that I've seen in my experience individuals that come in with, you know, a super cavalier, you know, disrespectful attitude and have the intent to, you know, be disrespectful or do things that maybe not, they're the ones that seem to get messed with.
Yeah,
you know,
I definitely get the sense.
I mean, look, case in point, you see, when Travis first was introduced to us, I mean, the conversation with Thomas, and I say this jokingly, this wasn't real, but, you know, we joked that, you know, after we first met him, we were like, we need to find where can we bury a body on the ranch? This guy is like, you know, because he came in, you know, from a scientific background, hell bent on saying, you know what, there's nothing going on there. I mean, he went as far as to say that we were all batshit crazy and that he was going to be able to disprove it. And he'd be able to prove everything that was going on there was either just stories or science or, you know, some natural phenomenon. And by the end of season 1 and having experienced all he did, I mean, he got knocked on his backside and went through a lot and walked out of there. I'll never forget, you know, after he'd experienced the whole thing with the radiation, they were filming kind of a follow-up when they were going through there and scanning for radiation to make sure that there was nothing. And it was actually below background levels. And he came walking out. I was standing on the road outside the homestead with just the biggest shit-eating grin on my face because he was sitting there just shaking his head going, I swear, I'm going batshit crazy. I can't explain this, you know, sort of thing. So, you know, obviously I don't want there to come trouble to anybody, but it seems like as strange as it sounds, and as strange as it sounded when, you know, Thomas in the first episode of season 1 said, you know, we'll be curious to see how the ranch reacts to new individuals because it seems to stimulate stuff. It sounds crazy. And I would have said it was crazy, but, you know, it was interesting. I might have to get up and go turn a light on.
Dude, don't worry about it. You look fine. So, it's fine.
Anyway, it's been interesting to see how that truly does happen. And so I don't know. I can't explain it. Some people experience a lot. Some people don't experience anything. It's just crazy.
Well, let me ask you though, do you believe it?
Yeah, what do you think is going on? If somebody just came up to you and said,
well, not even so much like, do you think what's going on? Because that's hard to answer because it's who the hell knows what's going on. True. Like the dragon doesn't know; he just works there. But I want to know if the dragon, if Bryant, if you believe it, like, do you really think that something is happening there, or do you think that this could be explained? I guess.
Boy. That's a tough question.
Because when you talk, like when you said the word superstitious, I noticed your eyes roll like a superstitious bullshit kind of thing. And so I'm curious because you don't strike me as a guy. No, well that too. But I mean, like you don't strike me as the kind of guy who is like believes in lucky numbers. I think you'd walk under a ladder. Like if a mirror broke, I think you'd be like, okay, a fucking mirror broke, just get the broom, let's sweep it up. Like I don't find you as the kind of person who believes easily. So do you believe it? Do you believe that there's something supernatural happening at Skinwalker?
Wow. I believe that there are things that have happened that I don't have an explanation for. I believe that there's definitely something going on. What the nature of it is, I don't know yet. That's what we're trying to find out. You know, I'm a type that is, I'm not going to form an opinion one way or another just based off of anything. I'm a more kind of like, if I'm going to experience it and see it, then I'll believe it. You know, I don't buy into stories. I don't necessarily, you know, I want to see it. I've seen things that we've captured. Yeah. On camera and various equipment, stuff like that I can't explain. But then again, I'm not a scientist. And so I defer to people like Eric. You know, Eric, 100%, I need to tell everybody, if Eric puts it out there, then you better know that he's tried to debunk the hell out of it as far as he can go. That's his job. That's his first thing he does. And it pisses people off, pisses production off, because they're like, well, what do you mean? Why are you trying to do that? You know, what about the what if? He will not say one way or another that, I mean, he's flat out said from the beginning, his tagline, you know, I'm not here to believe or disbelieve. I'm here to observe. And if I observe it, I'm going to try and find a rational explanation for it. If I can't, then, you know, we can say, you know, there's a possibility it could be something more interesting than that. So I'm not trying to skirt the question of, yes, I believe.
Right. No,
I don't.
Yeah.
Because you know what? The jury's still out. The jury's still out. I know that.
Let me ask you this.
And you know, and we've experienced, and people have experienced things that, you know, I don't necessarily have a rational explanation for, but I don't know how to categorize it either.
Do you want to experience something? Do you
Great
question. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of on the fence there, and I'll give you one reason, because I've heard of people having stuff follow them home, or having, you know, it caused trouble to their loved ones, to their family members and things like that. So do I want to experience something from a sheer I want to know basis? Absolutely, I do. If it comes from the price where it's going to cause me to have, you know,
your head swell up,
to have my, you know, my health affected, or someone that I care about affected, to where, you know, my life down the road is negatively affected for, if that's the price I have to pay in order to have a quote experience, then you know what? I'll pass. There's other things that are more important to me than that.
Yeah.
That ties into the last question that I had, if I could sneak it in. You're aware the United States government has had an interest in Skinwalker Ranch. Before the current ownership got there, there was NIDS, there was Bigelow, there was the whole thing. Has that ever been a factor in how you look at the work that you're doing? Do you have, and I'm asking you basically on behalf of all the rest of us who have said, if there wasn't something going on, why would the Pentagon be dumping money into this and giving money to Robert Bigelow? And, you know, what could possibly be interesting if it was just myths and legends? What I'm just asking for your personal view, because you're directly involved and you're working.
Sure.
Does the government's involvement, previous involvement, make you think, well, man, there's got to be something going on?
It definitely adds a little credence to what, you know, what we've heard in the past. You know, Mr. Bigelow has been very, very private in keeping any of his data. He basically handed us the keys to a broken down old ranch with a double wide trailer that we turned into a command center, you know, and a book of stories. And that's basically what we inherited. And so with that, you know, we don't know what they experienced. We don't know what they saw. All we get are, you know, are the stories in the book or what George Knapp has been allowed to share, things like that. So, but just from a sheer, does it make sense standpoint? Absolutely. It makes us think there really must be something to it. And then, you know, we've captured our own things that we really, you know, look, you know, there's been individuals that, you know, I trust my life with that have sworn they've seen things or they've had things happen to them that, you know, I have no reason to not believe them. Just because I haven't seen it with my own eyes, I'm not going to call somebody a liar. But to get my own belief, you know, I'm kind of a see it to believe it type of a person. So, you know, with that, what's that?
You and me both.
Yeah.
I read a lot of stuff that I've never seen, but I try not to be too judgmental.
Right.
You know?
Right. So, you know, with that, it definitely lends to the fact that there's something interesting that has at least piqued the interest of the government, whether that's because they were sold a line and, you know, had a friend in the aerospace business or whatever it is. I don't know, but it definitely lends a little bit of credibility to the fact that, you know, there was money thrown toward the efforts there because they had an interest in it. And, you know, we still have interesting things where out of the blue, sometimes we'll see a helicopter, a jet, or something that looks completely out of place that may or may not be government that, you know, makes you go, wonder what's going on.
Thank you.
That's super interesting. How long had Brandon Fugel had his eye on the ranch prior to pulling the trigger, and was he always interested in it for purely this reason?
So honestly, if you ask Brandon why he bought the ranch when he had the opportunity, is because he was gonna prove it wrong.
Really? Okay, so he was coming in as a skeptic.
Wow.
Well,
he came in as a skeptic.
100%. You'll see it on a bunch of interviews. Like he's like, look, I'd never seen a ghost. I didn't believe in any of that. You know, I hadn't experienced any UFO, anything like that. So he came in, you know, as a major skeptic. The way that he was even introduced to it in the first place was he's, you know, a man that dabbles in as much business and things like that as he does. He had some other scientific stuff, and it's how we got Eric Bard in the first place, was from another project. They brought in some other scientists that had been associated with the Bigelow team and, you know, Skinwalker Ranch and everything like that. And it was right near the end when, you know, Mr. Bigelow had enough. He just had enough. He was done with it. And so, you know, Brandon traveled down to Vegas and spent the day with Mr. Bigelow at Bigelow Aerospace. And, you know, they hit it off. Mr. Bigelow wanted it to end up in someone's hands that was going to continue it on. I don't know if he would have agreed if he would have known there was a TV program, but Brandon never really had the intent to do that either. So, yeah, he bought it with just like, okay, yeah, this is cool. I've read books. I've grown up in Utah. I've read the crazy stories about it. I've read what goes on here and stuff like that. You know, let's really prove it out. Let's see if it's not. He's like, I don't necessarily believe it, but you know what? I might prove that it's a bunch of crap. And literally within the first few weeks, he had an experience that he will swear on a stack of whatever religious, you know, that, you know, he saw above the mesa an actual ship, craft, whatever you want to say, hovering right above the mesa. And he'll, you know, to this day, he's like, look, I don't care what you say. You can call me what you want. I don't have anything. I know what I saw. And
he said it was massive, right? Like it was a massive ship that he saw.
Yeah. Broad daylight.
Has he described what that looked like? Did it look like the Tic Tac or a pyramid or what?
He said it was almost kind of like your typical UFO, you know,
like saucer shape,
like cylindrical type shape, saucer type shape thing hovering above the mesa. I mean, he swears to this day that he saw it, and he saw it move really quickly from point to point, almost like seemed like it was almost jumping point to point, and then was gone. I've never seen anything like that. So I can't speak to it. I wasn't there that day. And so, you know,
do you think the buying of this ranch has made him question his religious beliefs?
No, I think if anything, I think it's possibly strengthened them. You know, I get that question a lot too. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a yes and no answer. You know, you grow up in any, you know, mainstream Christian religion or whatever you want to call it, and you know, you're told that, you know, there's worlds without number, and that there are other worlds, you know, other parallel, you know, existences, whatever it may be. And so, you know, honestly, if you want, I'll go back, you know, Carl, to your take. If you really want to think, I don't think it's little gray men from outer space. My opinion, and this is just 100% my opinion. If there is truly something, I think it's an interdimensional thing more than I do. Yeah. If it's, you know, spacecraft flying down from, you know, wherever. To me, that's what it feels like. That's what it seems like. You know, I don't want to get all sentimental, but so my father passed away like 22 years ago. Skinwalker Ranch is where I feel the very closest to him. So I don't know if it's, you know, like if it's a thin spot in dimensions, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You know, I don't know. All I know is that those same feelings I had when I was younger and I was around my father, I get that sense at times at Skinwalker Ranch.
Right. And I can see why Brandon wouldn't be bothered by it fitting into his beliefs. Growing up Mormon myself, even the founding of the church, the Joseph Smith first vision account is almost like a Skinwalker encounter where he gets pinned to the ground and thinks he's going to be destroyed, and then a being of light appears, and then the whole founding of the religion comes off of that. And I've considered, man, is that like a Skinwalker type encounter that happened in upstate New York? You hear that stuff other places too, but there's no religion out of it.
Yeah, without deep diving into religion, I mean, in answer to your question, I don't think it has shaken, you know, necessarily his belief system as far as that goes. I think, you know, it may have actually done the opposite.
Interesting. Does anybody have any other questions about this week's episode? Because I think we covered.
We really haven't talked about.
I mean, we kind of we lightly brushed it. Well, we still got to give it a review. We've hit the points. We hit the petroglyph. We hit the cowhide. We hit the
Junior Hicks.
The Junior Hicks family.
What about the dye in the water? Or sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Well, that was from last week.
Well, yeah, I had one from last week too, so we could both do one from last week.
We never found out what happened to the water from last week.
Neither did we.
The rod?
Wow.
Okay, that was the question.
I'm curious. What were your thoughts about the haywire iPhone? What did you think about that?
Oh yeah, that one.
So yeah, I've seen Caleb's phone do that a few times on the ranch. I keep telling him, get your damn screen fixed so we can watch that. You know.
Oh man, I agree.
That's really what it is. You know, I've seen some people say it doesn't matter. You know, I've worked for Apple for X amount of years.
Yeah,
they're right. You can't hack it. But you know what? In my opinion, I say, Brandon, buy Caleb a new phone and take that one and let Eric send it off to Apple or whatever.
Right.
So,
right. Well, no, I've heard that too. I actually, we heard from Zignal. He was saying the same thing. He's worked on iPhones for years, and he said that the biggest, like, we were all like, oh, well, that's just ridiculous. It's a broken iPhone. And then he was like, yeah, but the problem is the fact that it kept getting past the passcode is the weird part. Like, that shouldn't have happened.
It's weird, and I've seen it wig out. It'll start doing the most random things. It'll get into the calculator and just start going crazy on numbers faster than anybody. It's faster than anybody could, you know, physically type or anything like that. It'll go pull up music and play a song. It'll go call his mom. It'll call his dispatch. It'll do what, I mean, it's really strange, and it's so random and weird. And So
and the EMF meters all go off too, and you try to double check it with the other devices and technology.
So I don't know what the story is there. I mean, I've had my phone battery like go from 100% to 0 in like 10 minutes out there, which is weird. Happens all the time. We replace vehicle batteries all the damn time out there because it just sucks them dead.
I did get one more data question, if that's okay. Has anybody, to your knowledge, and maybe I should get off my lazy ass and go do it or find somebody to do it, but has anybody gone and looked at the Google Earth images going back to pre-Bigelow days through Bigelow days currently and done any sort of a side-by-side to see if there were any changes, excavations, significant movement of things? Because it did sound, and I think the person who gave me the question was making a very good point. That could be a really good data point for you guys. Right. To go look at like the last, we've had that data for like 50 years. Has anybody done that analysis?
And we've even gone further back than that. So we've gone back to the geological photographs that they used to take before Google Earth and Google Maps and things like that. So yeah, I mean, the landscape has changed. It's interesting because just if you walk around the place, people are going to ask why we didn't go revisit that whole sinkhole area where Travis was feeling all swimmy headed, in the first couple episodes. It's because you get a winter's worth of water and storm, and the nature of the dirt and that whole rock side. I mean, they tried, and I didn't let anybody go down in there because it looked like there was an old game when I was a kid. This is probably dating me, called Don't Break the Ice, where you'd hit these little blocks out and then one would fall.
Yeah. I remember that.
That's what the whole top of that thing looks like, because water had rushed through that clay and dirt, and it literally, I was afraid that if someone, coughed too hard, that the whole thing could come down on them. So yeah, it's been amazing. There definitely has been a lot of just natural geological changes over the years to the property. So, we hear stories of caves and caverns and things. There very well could have been, but, over just natural time or being covered up or whatever, it definitely, things have changed around that place over the years. And we've looked at it. I don't know that it's ever been brought up, as far as, storyline or anything like that, but it's definitely, and anyone can do it. I mean, you can go look at, Google Earth of the place, and you can get copies of the geological surveys from time way back, and you'll see a difference of just the mesa itself. The mesa side itself has changed dramatically.
No, it's just good to hear you answer that, and I thank you, because people do ask, and I think that's a really good question, and it's good to know that you guys have been looking at that kind of data.
If Eric can get his hands on data, he's gonna do it. Eric is, he's meticulous when it comes to that sort of thing.
Speaking of that geology, it comes up a lot. Is there any kind of minerals or deposits or any kind of like iridium that's been found around the property, or anything that could, you squeeze certain crystals and quartz, and they'll produce like balls of light or emit light in different electricity and things like that. If there's something under the ground or an ancient meteorite impact or something that caused that kind of compression, has that all been looked into, and what have they found as far as the mineral deposits and geology there?
So from what I can remember, I think we did send a bunch of samples off that they're going to talk about. So, without getting myself in trouble again, you guys, it's been since, I mean, we're coming up on almost a year since we were out, and there's so much that goes on. And you know what? I see the shows when you guys see the shows.
Right.
A little bit terrifying. In fact, I had to make sure, because I knew that I had this, that I was going to reach out to see if we could do this today. I had to watch, even though I didn't get to watch live. I was at the emergency room.
Right.
And so, I had to make sure that I got a chance to watch. So it's interesting to me too, to see these, how they play out. I'm happy that I can do this to maybe, I get the questions. Like, there was a few things last week, and I wish that my memory was better, that I was like, man, I wish I could tell these guys, okay, I know you're pissed off about this, but actually this and this and this, right? Type of a thing. Yeah. And so, you know, with that said, I'm happy to talk about the episode because I can truly give you at least, you know, my insight.
Yeah. No, you've added a ton of perspective, man. You have a ton of perspective to how the show is filmed and sort of what goes down when production is there. Out of curiosity, and we're running on almost an hour and a half, so if you got to go, please just say something, Bryant, and we'll let you go. But I wanted to review the show.
What did you just call me? That was weird.
Sorry, Dragon. I'm sorry, Dragon.
Luis is fired.
Yeah.
No. I joke. I appreciate
No, I know.
Hey,
no.
Hey, look, I've told people, they're like, well, why do you let him call you Dragon? I'm like, well, it rolls off the tongue a little bit easier than Bryant Arnold. You know, right. I mean, it's like, I feel like I have to spit on people when I enunciate my name because my parents.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's your name.
But Dragon is so sick. Like, I mean, you can't ask for and the fact that you had somebody else made it up for you, and then it just stuck like that.
Definitely not self. Believe me.
Yeah.
That's money.
Yeah,
you've seen the heat I've taken for that nickname.
I cannot imagine the heat that. Well, here's the thing: is I picture whoever the head producer is of the show, when Brandon laid that little nugget of your name on that table, on that production meeting, his brain went, we've got a guy named the Dragon on the show?
Honestly.
Oh, my God.
The
production went nuts.
No, actually, to be honest, so the late, great Kevin Burns, you know, rest his soul. He's the creator of so many, you know, of the shows in this genre, you know, and he's the one that he hated me at first.
No.
He's like, I don't know about this Dragon guy.
Bryant, that first season was not edited as if somebody hated you. Like that
was just it. Brandon's like, no, because, you know, I had my reservations about it too. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what to think. I don't want some hokey shit that I have to hang my hat on and then I'm going to get, you know, all this other different kind of stuff because I didn't know what they were going to do. And, you know, we were fortunate. We got lined up and Kevin was who he was and, you know, he wanted to stay true to things like that. But I told him, I said, Brandon, I'm just going to be myself. So they're either going to like me or they're going to hate me. And that's kind of the way it's gone. I feel like a WWE wrestler or something. It's like either you hate me or you
what I'm saying. Like, but the show does that. Like, that's not you. That's the production going. And we've got gold here.
Hey, look, all those things that I said. Yeah. Definitely 100%. I own all the crazy, you know, faces that I've made. You know, type of stuff. You know, that's definitely me. The resting bitch face is mine. I own that. But with that said, you know, that first command center scene that we shot, that was 10 hours.
Yeah.
10 hours.
And they cut by the end of it and left it like that.
So during that 10 hours, did I have some great ideas? Did we have some laughs? Did I make some jokes? Absolutely. Yeah. But they loved the fact that I was like, no digging. But
it adds a lot of spice to it. I mean, it's iconic.
Right.
Now.
So, oh my God, I had never seen Skinwalker Ranch before, and we're talking about doing this show, and they're like, you're gonna fucking love the Dragon because he just hates digging, and I'm like, wait, what?
Well, look, at the end of the day, people ask that question. That was my mandate from Brandon. He's my boss. Yeah. He's like, and you know, plus I was a little bit on edge because you know Travis came in with this like, well, you know, my grandma always said, a hornet's nest not any fun unless you poke it with a stick, you know, like that. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not your hornet's nest, so keep your stick away from it type of
We
thing.
don't have enough time for all of this, so I you know, before Luis, you know, closes this out, I'm sorry, it's Lois after Mother's Day.
Lois.
Cristina has her own show for the debrief, and there's a bunch of us that work for the debrief. We got to go way deeper into this. Is there any chance you're going to talk to Cristina and just give her a block of your time for the debrief to just go, like, she goes so in depth on stuff. Can you guys get together and just do this? Because we need to hear more from you, man.
I'd be happy to visit, with the caveat of I will talk about what has happened in season 1, everything that I can share, right? Because obviously there's still things that, you know, you're under a non-disclosure agreement, right. And what has, you know, transpired in the episodes up to when we speak.
We'd love to have you back.
I'm happy to do that, but just as long as you're understanding of the fact that, you know, I can't, if I have to say, look, I can't talk about that, or I can't answer that question, that's okay, because you know, ultimately I'm bound by those things as well.
I mean, Mr. Elizondo tells me that all the time, so it's like, it's okay.
Okay.
Have you met Lou Elizondo, Dragon?
I have not. No.
Okay. Interesting.
Not
maybe
yet.
Cristina can hook you up.
Yeah, not yet.
And maybe we can also have the Dragon back for a season recap.
That would be amazing.
Well, I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna reach out to Brandon. If I could get Brandon and the Dragon back for season 10 or episode 10. Episode 10 recap. Well, okay. Speaking of recaps, let's recap this episode.
Yeah, I want the scores.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Okay. All right. The dragon is ready.
We'll see if I'll be back, right?
Wait. The dragon has to give his scores. The dragon's giving his scores too, right?
Well, of course, the dragon's going to give his score on episode 2. Okay, so Carl, we'll start with you. So last week we rated it on the scientific aspects. How from 1 to 10, how was scientifically the show? Was it you know, were the experiments good? Did you find it not too scientific? And then the second thing we rated on was just pure entertainment. You know, from a pure entertainment aspect, how did you feel about this episode? 1 to 10 again.
Oh man, how do I give anything a perfect 10? I absolutely love that episode. I honestly am going to have to give it a 9 because I feel like it was a step up from previous episodes as far as like following back up on things that I was really curious about. The cell phone stuff, it was interesting to me. The cow was super interesting. And there's just so much going on, but I really geeked out when the petroglyphs were found and the rock carvings, and because I go hike around all the time and look into that, and when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is legit. There's got to be so much more stuff around there that still hasn't been seen. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 9, I'm going to say.
Okay, so a 9 from an entertainment standpoint. Do you have a
and I know how much they edit that stuff down and cut it up, and so I bet you're seeing the tip of the iceberg there. So I think, man, they cram-packed a lot in, and I was sad when it was over. I wished it was another hour long.
Yeah, I was actually kind of shocked when it ended. But do you have like a science score for it?
A science score?
Yeah, like how was the science this episode? There wasn't a ton of science, I feel like, in this episode. So it's not like we could really critique it too much. I mean, they did take samples from the cow. But then we had I guess archaeologist come out and look at the petroglyphs,
but only for his opinion. Like there wasn't
right.
Really any,
yeah,
like,
there wasn't any like measuring. There wasn't any. So you know, this wasn't crazy scientific forward. So you know, whatever you think is a fair score. But we did score it that way last time, so that's why I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to stay consistent
with the science and everything. I would say that would probably put it around 7.
Okay, so 8? A 7 and a 9. So you're probably average around an 8. Okay,
yeah, I'd cool. Yeah.
All right, Jazz, you're next, sir. What do you think?
Definitely up from.
Are we going to talk about the fact that Jazz fell asleep when he watched it the first time?
No, we're not.
Well, it's Jazz's bedtime. Listen. I went to bed before the premiere last night. I was passed out, dude. I woke up and watched it this morning.
Today, I watched half of it last night.
That's why
I'm a social security dude. I don't stay up that late on these.
Michael.
Okay.
I know. That was mean of me. We love you, Jazz. I'm just messing.
I don't know. You know what?
He's old. Fired. He's tired.
Yeah, I'm
should
old
respect
and tired,
our elders.
I thought I didn't give the first episode a terrible score. This one, my only downgrade points would be the amount of flashbacks, but I understand why the production crew would do that. because if you didn't watch the first season, you got to catch people up. I had a couple questions about, and actually Dragon already addressed some of the big scientific questions. I think scientifically it was a lot better. I think there was a lot of mystery left, but a lot of that mystery isn't because it was bad. It was because you've got 60 minutes. Well, what is it? 42 minutes?
Not even.
45.
Yeah, 42.
You know, and a lot of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor. I thought it was significantly improved in a lot of areas. And if I had known about the cow stuff that Dragon told us about, I would have given it a higher score initially. I'm going to go up to a 7.5 overall for the second one. I would like to have seen a little more detail, but I can also understand why there's some things you can't talk about yet. And I give it a good score because I think they're opening the door to, we have more stuff to come that we're not going to show you yet. And that's frustrating for fans that are just looking for data. Mm-hmm. But it is a show, and they got to keep people watching, and you have to mix that balance. So, yeah, I'm going to go 7.5, maybe 8.
Okay. And entertainment score?
Oh, entertainment, solid 9. I was only annoyed about the cow.
All right.
You know, and Dragon kind of wiped that out. But it's like, I grew up on a cow farm. I was like, dude, that's not the same cow.
I know that the optics. I know that the optics were bad, but
yeah, man, I'm glad you cleared it up.
On everything, that is that damn stinky cow.
I believe you.
I used to be the dolphin guy. Now I'm the cow guy, apparently. But I was like, dude, not the right cow.
Oh, I love that you straightened it out. And I'll be honest, Jazz, I'm glad you pointed it out because I did not notice that. Like, I did not notice that the cow was a different color. And,
it was a heifer.
And if you noticed it, that means that a large part of the audience, at least, you know, I'd say 10 to 15, 20% of the audience also said that, noticed that. So I'm glad that we had Dragon on here. I'm glad you asked the question because now we know.
I thought that was like going to be right out the gates just because I've heard, you know, the heat that people have been taking. I've been putting out there about it, but yeah. Honest, I mean, you could put a lie detector on every one of us, including you know, everything, and we'd be like 100%, and we would pass because that was brutal getting that thing out there.
Yeah, I hate the smell of dead things. So okay, so all right, UFO Jane, what do you got for me, my lady?
Well, I loved last episode, and I gave it what I think is a pretty high 8 for entertainment, and I'm gonna do an 8, maybe 8.5 for this one, and that's really high. I gotta save like the 10s for like what I think is coming because they're just like more questions. But just the music was so great. Like, could there be a portal to another universe? It was just so great. Yeah. And then as far as facts, I would go up from last episode, and I was pretty low with, I think it was like 4. And so I'd go up to like 6 with this one because you've got the petroglyphs. I'm like, I don't know if science is the right word, but there's a lot of just cool backstory.
I guess we'll research, maybe we'll call it research, maybe instead of science, because this one wasn't very scientific-y, so it's kind of hard to label it science because it was more it just wasn't, like I said, it wasn't measurable data. It was more opinion-y. But until we got to the cow definitely had measurable data. We got some data from that, so that was good to find. Cristina, what do you have, my lady?
Well, talking about the data on the cattle mutilation, it's like you got no answers to the questions that you asked, and that was an answer. It's like how they described it. So overall, I would like entertainment. I would give it a solid 7. I was like, I liked it, but there were so many open doors of like not finished answers. It kind of reminded me of Ghost Adventures. It's like you have all the entertainment, at the very end, they don't do anything. And I'm like, but I want the answers. Like, give me a book. So, but for the research scale, I would probably also give it about a 7.5, just because, you know, 42 minutes is just not enough time to go into detail.
Such a huge topic.
Oh, I think she froze.
That's my number.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so yeah, I think you averaged about a 7.5.
Yeah, on both sides.
Okay, cool. All right, Michael. So last week you were pretty rough on episode 1, and now you got the dragon sitting right next to you. You better be careful.
And
look, now the resting bitch face is really hard. Now it's on. All right, what do you got for this week's score?
Luis and I talked about this ahead of time, and we said it was important to be honest and not back down and be
100%. I appreciate that. So
I have so much respect for that. All right, so. Okay, a couple things. Number one, I didn't realize that the cow's color was different, and Jazz pointed that out. So that was a great catch, Jazz, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And then I appreciate getting the response. And so what that makes me think, which is actually pretty fascinating, is that in Jazz's case, when he's on the farm as a kid, he's never seen an animal sit around for a year or 2 years because it just doesn't happen. So the fact that this thing is actually there and sat around for that long is incredible, and the fact that the scientist or the person who came back and looked at it, I can't remember what his qualification was. Do you remember, Dragon? I'm not sure.
He was a veterinarian.
Veterinarian.
Yeah, he was a he works for one of the universities north that studies all that different kind of stuff. So yeah.
Right, and so the fact that he then didn't know, I don't. From an entertainment perspective, that's disappointing, but it's actually the fact that he didn't know and didn't make any grand claims, I think actually speaks more to science and facts. So I actually gave you a pretty good score on facts this round, except for the petroglyph expert. I was shocked because he came out and gave this beautiful, grandiose idea that these are portals, and then your what's his name? Eric, the astrobiologist. What's his name?
Oh, Travis.
Travis said they don't look like portals to me. They look like constellations. And then the petroglyph.
Well, it's because he's he goes in that direction. Everything that's Cassiopeia. That's or whatever. I mean, he's. I've given him plenty of crap about that.
The one thing that the geologist or the archaeologist said was that before Travis gave his opinion, he's like, I want you to go up there and take a look at it first. He did say that the first thing looked like a serpent. Okay, a serpent could be a dragon, right? And I can't remember what he explained what the second one looked like.
I thought he said a portal. I thought the one that they were saying was the constellation for the Big Dipper. He was calling it a portal.
Yes, that he did call a portal. And then that's when Travis chimed in. Well, it's funny you say this one's a serpent because I thought it was Cassiopeia. Right. And this one over here looks like the Big Dipper. And he's like, and then the guy was like, that could be sure. So but I tell you the one thing I did like about that guy. And I feel like I'm taking over your review here. By the way, I grew up in the South.
It's great.
Oh, you're totally taking over his review.
Yeah. I love that when he stepped out of the Jeep, he clapped and he noticed that there was an echo to it, and he explained that echo. And I never, ever, ever thought of that. And I thought, oh man, that's a neat little native nugget that I didn't know, and that they would have probably found that area in that basin as a holy spot or somewhere where things can be easier reached. I think
that's the only valuable thing that he said, though.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Christina's usually not critical. That was
the weakest part of the show for me, and I know Dragon already discussed it with me and answered the questions. But I watch a lot of science shows, about a lot of topics, and petroglyphs are a thing that come up in Egyptology, in South American lore, all that stuff. There are ways to go and test the age of petroglyphs.
Yep.
And if that happened and it wound up on the cutting room floor, I get it, because, you only got so many minutes to do it. But if they have that data, I would have been a lot more impressed with that part of the show if the guy had come and said, okay, we did the test, and this is absolutely 5,000 years, 10,000 years, 20,000 years, and that data can be managed.
Yeah, there was not any of that, like, physically taking of evidence to date it. He gave his opinion because, you know, he's an expert in that field based on the others he's seen, especially.
I'm not dragging you, dude. Just so you know, I'm not dragging you. I'm just saying.
No, 100%. I'm just explaining.
If he had done
I'm telling you right now that
you know?
didn't happen, so you don't have to wonder if that made it on the cutting room floor or not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I mean, it would have been nice for context, I guess, but I don't think it would really get delivered us anything that would have solved any mysteries.
No, for sure.
Not
the
definitively.
petroglyphs down in Sago Canyon, some of those and around there, just south of there, are like 3000 BC. You know, and they're very, very old. So if they did date that time and they depicted those things, that's very fascinating.
That would have been really like everybody would be like,
yeah, it would have been cool. It would have been.
All right, so what's the score, Michael?
I also learned about the Navajos, the Utes. So for me, the scientific and factual basis of this episode was far superior to the last for me. So I give it a 6 from that. And then from an entertainment perspective, you know, basically the first episode for me again was a bunch of guys standing around a hole. So this episode actually was far superior to that for me when it comes from an entertainment perspective. But I think it's important to contextualize here as well, because I had never seen any of this before, and these guys built it up in my head so great. And then I watched that first episode of season 1. I was like, this is what you guys are talking about? But
so you haven't...
But episode 2, I hadn't seen it previously, but episode 2 changed my mind completely when it came to the science and the entertainment factor. So I actually give the entertainment a 7. So I give it a 6 and a 7 this week, which is a dramatic improvement from episode 1.
That's a big improvement.
Just so you're aware, Dragon, none of us really like Michael. You know?
It's true, Dragon.
Oh my God! Gotta love Jazz Shaw. Okay,
hey,
he's still mad.
People that I like people that.
Well, that's clear. You came on this show.
They are 100% who they're going to be, one way or the other. So I'd rather hear that than you blow smoke up my ass. So.
No, I think,
really appreciate
dude, I think that's so clear.
Yeah,
it's so clear.
Yeah, dude, I got mad respect. We appreciate it, man.
Dragon, I am so grateful because there's a bunch of us here that work for different networks, you know, and different outlets and things like that, that all wanted to talk to you. And if you will keep engaging with some of us, like I mentioned, you know, Christina's show, you know, and I don't have a show, but
not yet.
You should.
Yes, I know. I work for a news network. I do occasional interviews. Dragon's not going to give me a damn interview.
You need a show,
you know,
Jazz.
Stick with us, man, because it's really, this is such a huge topic. And I know these guys are all saying the same thing. We're so grateful for you to give us this time. And it was a long, in-depth thing. And you were just brutally honest. And man, I think that adds so much credibility to your show.
For sure. It goes a long way. It goes a long way.
You're welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
Okay, so I've got my review.
Okay.
I am going to give the research aspect a pretty mild score because there wasn't a ton of it. I kind of wanted more. I wanted more data. I wanted more science. I wanted just more stuff to crunch on. So I gave that part of it like a 4. I wasn't too impressed. Yeah, I would just wanted more. You could have spent the whole episode on the cow and I would have been really happy with that. Because I think just going like that cow was the most fascinating part of the episode to me. The fact that the bones were still there, the guts were still there, nothing had touched it. Like I wish that guy, that veterinarian was there last year when that cow was fresh. So we could have gotten 2 opinions on the cow instead of one veterinarian's opinion. But that's not in your control.
There's a picture I took of the cow, like seriously recently. I mean, well, actually a few months before it. So you can see how black it is.
Oh yeah.
On the back. That's how, I mean, the whole thing was, it really was a black cow.
Yeah.
And it's just continued to bake out. I mean, I go check on this thing all the freaking time.
Well, the bugs haven't even touched it. That's what's so weird.
Well, I mean,
usually the maggots would take care of it.
Yeah, no, they did.
Really
they got to the soft tissue. That was apparent. You know, you're not stopping flies and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is that we have mountain lions, we have coyotes, we have freaking wild dogs,
skinwalkers.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah. Crows, vultures.
And we've had other animals die, and literally within a day or two, you can't even find anything but some hair scattered. Yeah. So that honestly to me is
huge.
Is some of the weirdest thing, because even the circumstances of the cow dying, I was kind of like, man, yeah, the cow, it died. Yeah, what's that? I wasn't 100%. And then when the vet said, it's stress-induced pneumonia, I'm like, okay, stressful place. Who knows what's going on? But the fact that thing is still sitting there and nothing
has moved.
That's a lot of meat, right?
Yeah. No, that's a lot. That's weird. That's why I say, like, you could have spent the whole episode on just a cow, and that would have pleased me. I just wish it was fresher when that second veterinarian showed up. Yeah. Because maybe we just get more data out of a fresher sample.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it is that's what made us even revisit it in the first place.
Right.
Was the fact that it had been there so long and nothing attention. We're like, something is up. We need to at least see if you can figure out something. So they got the. Luckily, they didn't show the sawzall coming out and hacking into that nasty thing. But
and I want to apologize to Dragon because, I grew up in a family that raised Holsteins. We never had a cow that we dragged off and was there a year later.
Right.
And we had both black and white and red and white cows.
Exactly.
And
it's weird.
We never watched a cow decay for a year.
Right.
When you dragged a dead cow that you couldn't put to market out off to the edge of the property, that son of a bitch was gone in like a week. Tops.
Yeah. Right.
There was bones. A few maybe pieces of flesh.
Look,
I've never seen a cow sit there for a year. So I don't know.
I tell people, I obviously wear black a little bit. I wear black hats out there.
Because you're a black dragon. Yes. Yeah. Yes, sir. You are a ninja.
By the time I've spent a summer wearing a black hat out there, it's not black anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not black anymore.
It bleaches almost a brown color. And honestly, you have that thing just sitting out in that open space with the weather and the sun. That 100% used to be a black cow, and now it's not.
Yeah. No, I can vouch for that because when I play golf out here in California, and I'll use the same hat for a year, it starts off black and it's white by the end of the year.
And Skinwalker Ranch is up in the high desert up there.
Right, it's dry, it's hot.
There's not a lot of atmosphere to
you can feel the radiation when you go outside. It's totally different. There's no humidity, so it cuts right through. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to beat a dead horse. I know we're going long.
Dude. Hey, listen. You stay as long as you want, Brent. The floor is open for you, sir. Okay, so let me give it an entertainment score. I knew going into this, just because I've been around production almost my whole life, that episode 2 is always not a great one. Usually they smack you in the face with episode 1, and then episode 2 sets up everything else. So that's what this episode was. It was a setup episode with recaps and just touching on things that happened last year, and one little new petroglyph twist and some new team members. So that's, I wasn't expecting too much, so I think I gave it from an entertainment aspect. I gave it a 7, so I probably, if I'm being really hard, 6.7, something like that. I can tell you, let me ask you this, Dragon. Yeah. Did you lose some weight between last year and this year?
Does it look like it?
Yeah,
it's possible. Yeah,
okay. I said to him last week, I was like, you set this dragon up to be like this.
Yeah, because I was like, man, somebody tamed him. Something happened. What happened to my dragon? Like, where's my fierce lion man?
The guy that's dropping F-bombs and getting bleeped out and having his mother mad at him about it. Stuff like that.
Yeah, where's the let me ask you this. Did you go into this season going, I'm not going to let this goddamn production team make me look like this jerk off the whole time. I'm just going to try and be as cool as it, because it seems like this year you're way cooler than you were last year. Is it the experience that you have under your belt being on the ranch, and now is there sort of a comfortability with the production, or did you go into it going, I'm going to tone this down a little bit because I don't want them to take things out of context? Because
that's a fair question. No, look, I am who I am. I I have my blow-ups with individuals with, members of the production crew, whoever it is, I'm an equal opportunity asshole, I guess.
I can't believe that you don't have a bigger trailer than Travis.
No, I live in the crappy double wide that Bigelow put there.
Dragon, we need to get you an agent.
That command center was like the most ghetto thing ever. Like the inside of it, we had to gut it, everything. Yeah. I mean, it was just garbage. So anyway, it is what I don't care. I'm not a diva. I don't need that shit like you.
Hey, Dragon, one last question, because we have UFO Jane with us. Outside of the ranch, because she collects all of these things, have you ever had a personal sighting of something away from the ranch that you couldn't explain? Because Jane collects like all of these weird things. Have you ever seen something weird in the skies or whatever that was not involved with Skinwalker?
Yeah, I would say yes. As a Boy Scout growing up, laying in the high Uinta Mountains, watching what I thought were satellites, and then they would move weird, or whatever, not like in your normal orbital pattern or whatever it is. To be honest with you, before I came to Skinwalker Ranch, it really didn't interest me a lot. It was like, okay, whatever. I never spent time looking. So did I have anything smack me in the face to where I was like, this is the new path of my life, I must, research this? No, I didn't. So, thinking about it, I'd have to say, if I have, it wasn't enough of a significant event that I would remember it that well.
All right, Jane, lock him down, drag him into a basement, and
nothing significant. That's the headline. Dragon.
He said outside of the ranch. So don't forget that.
Yeah, that's true.
Outside of the ranch.
Okay, so I've got 2 more questions for you. One of them's from a fan, and then we're gonna let you go because it's been damn near 2 hours.
2 hours.
And by the way, we should get your review, Dragon. What was your review of this season, episode 2 of Skinwalker?
Are you trying to get me in trouble? Is that what this is about?
No, this is your chance.
No, I don't want to get you in trouble. I mean, look, if you want to stay out of trouble, just give it 10s. Simple.
But he doesn't want to do that either, because then he looks like a shill.
Yeah. No,
oh God, Mike, you're trying to torpedo the show.
Okay,
I'm trying to protect the dragon, Jazz.
So obviously, because I know what was done versus what showed up, from the science aspect, I always feel like, we do a good job. It may not come across that way. It's just kind of like episode 1 when you ask questions about, certain things that didn't come across like there was very much research into it. So, and with Eric heading things up, I'm always, maybe some of the experiments that we do are not his idea, and he's not necessarily 100% on board with it. Travis is kind of the experimental scientist guy. But, I think that we could have had, the rock art dated, just like you said. I think that, that's something that would have been interesting. I'm glad we did a little bit more with the cow. And actually, to be honest with you, I'm glad he didn't say or try to come up with something exotic, because to me, that speaks to even more of what's got us so befuddled by what happened to the thing. If you would have found something in the cow's makeup that would have made predators stay away, that would have been disappointing. I've heard people, even crazy people, say, well, there was a gray tarp there that it was laying on, so those chemicals in that tarp could have dissuaded predators from coming and eating all this fresh meat. Come on. So
my dog would have eaten the tarp. Get out of here.
That was that's so. From a science aspect, there wasn't a lot of science this time, like you said, but so because I liked the cow side of things, the gentleman that was there was very engaging and had a lot of history and knowledge of the area and stuff. So I got to see a little bit more of that than what you did.
Well, look, Dragon, it's okay for you to be biased, by the way.
No,
I mean, you were there, so you see what goes into it and stuff.
But that's kind of my problem, is I'm not good at that whole towing the line thing. I just don't want to get myself in trouble. So, you know what, from that aspect, because there wasn't a lot, but I did like some of it, I'll get, you know, on the scientific side, I'll give it an 8, you know. And then, you know, from an entertainment standpoint, I'll give it about the same, to be honest.
Okay, cool.
There are episodes that I like much better. Like,
what's your favorite episode?
For example, you guys last week, I liked the episode but I'm biased to the fact that they let me show just a hair of personality in the fact when Travis said, "Don't go swimming in there," and I told him, "Well, I'm not from Alabama."
Yeah.
So I at least got to show a little bit more of my real personality, which is, you know.
I wish they had a close up on you when you'd said it, because that would have been gold. Yes, because I think we need more of that. I need more of the you know, the snappy, the sass. Yeah, more sassy dragon.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, there are definitely episodes of the show that I enjoyed, you know, much more. And like you said, it's a building process, right? You know, in the beginning, they're going to start leading up. But I can tell you guys, without giving anything away, we do some badass experiments this time.
Yeah.
Whether the results come out to where we want to be, we do some really cool shit that I think you're really going to like. It'll look really good visually. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So definitely on that side of things, on the scale and everything, I would say definitely tune in, because there's some really cool crap that we do.
I love it.
That's
man.
exciting.
I love it. Well, dude, you're welcome to come back every week if you want. The door's wide open, man. Anytime. I mean, I would love for you and maybe fingers crossed we could get a Brandon. I'll reach out to Brandon. He's been on the show.
He's way more dramatic and demonstrative than I am. But you know, I'll talk to him.
Yeah, dude. Well, I appreciate you spending so much time. I appreciate your perspective. I hope you had a good time.
You guys have been great. I didn't know what to expect.
Good.
Thank you, Dragon.
I wasn't scared, because it would have been as easy as me saying, "Screw you, I'm out." Peace.
Right. Well, you were at Skinwalker Ranch, so.
Well, here's the last question.
We appreciate
if
you, Dragon.
see me walking up to the ranch gate and maybe pop over, would you shoot me?
Shoot him.
I'm not asking you, Jazz.
No, but I'm trying to take over your show, dude. This is my opportunity.
No. If you're just walking up, I'm not going to shoot you. Now, if you're pointing a gun at me, I might.
Okay, fair.
At the end of the day, that's ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never, ever would even imagine. I pray to God I never have to.
You're right. Even put in that position.
Anything like that. You know, there's people that have claimed I've chased after them, shooting my gun in the air at them. No,
what?
No. You know, I've never even had to.
To be fair, that was a Bigfoot. So.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I mean, I know that you say that tongue in cheek, but you know, that's the only reason. It's for our own protection.
Wow.
So you're saying
somebody wrote as if Luis could run. Hilarious.
Wow.
That's a good point. I probably wouldn't be able to make it over the fence before Dragon even rolls up and be like, dude.
I'd be too scared to even try to trespass.
No, me too. Like, yeah, I would never even attempt it. And I suggest that nobody
does. We're all
burying
the headline. Dragon just said there was a Bigfoot. So, you know,
that's gonna be
there's your byline, Jazz.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be the thing that hits Twitter tomorrow.
Did I? Because honestly, I was listening to like 7 different people, and I was like, well,
you sure did. You sure did. We got it on tape. We're gonna play it back for everybody.
Awesome. Great.
Bryant Arnold. Thank you, sir, for coming by. Thank you for coming aboard and getting weird. It was a lot of fun.
No, you guys were fun. Thanks for. I mean, look.
We love the show.
I could tell by your sense of humor when I appreciate that so much when I followed you on Twitter and you're like, I don't know if I should be honored or scared to death, you know, type of a thing.
Well, I knew when you followed me, we were cool. You know,
that was. You know what? I'm good to good people. Let me just put it that way. And you guys are that. So thank you.
Hey man,
thank you for your work, sir.
Yeah, man, you're a lot of fun, and I can't wait to have you back because we got a billion other questions. So, so thank you for humoring us.
You got it. No, you
right,
know, this was fun. Thanks for letting me shed a little bit of light on stuff, especially the cow thing. I was super happy I got to come on this week.
Oh, me too. Me too. Well, when you hit me up today, you're like, "Hey, can we do today?" I was like, "Yeah, man, whatever you want, any
day you want,
any day, anytime." I know you're not big into the social media, but is there anything you want to plug before you leave?
You know, I need to be better about that. So, you know, obviously my Twitter handle is at SWRDragon. You know, I need to be better. I never thought, you know, really, to be honest, people ask why I haven't. I've been so protective of my family and my kids that I don't want them to be dragged into the cesspool that is social media, you know, in a lot of aspects. So that's why you know, I appreciate those that are kind. I don't appreciate those that think they know me, but say awful things. But it is what it is. You know, you're a public figure. You set yourself up for that. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at SWRDragon.
And I also catch the show every Tuesday, 10, 9 Central on History Channel.
Hey, 7 o'clock now. Well, 7. Well, excuse me, 7. 9 Eastern. You know, because I go off Mountain Time because that's where we are. So, but yeah, 9 Eastern History. You know what? Even if you don't buy into it, just come be entertained. It's fun.
It's fun. Exactly. It is a damn good time. All right, so
Dude,
we'll catch you soon.
So much for doing this, and make sure you hook up with Cristina and Jane because they got tons of other outlets for you.
Okay. Well,
thanks, Dragon.
Yeah, reach out to me. However, we'll figure that out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Like you're pretty reachable through Twitter. Thanks, bud.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a great day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, you guys.
That was awesome.
That was cool.
I would just like to point out that Morning Dragon voted the
show
same for.
except for the phone home. That was like the best show.
Oh man, Jazz was really jazzed about this.
Jazz was jazzed. And great question, Jazz, about the
cow, man. Oh, such a killer question.
But he always nails it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that.
You know, I have to come clean because she's watching. That wasn't even my question. My wife picked that up. She was like,
that's why we need
the same cow.
It's why we need your wife on the show, Jazz.
Yeah, Jazz.
She doesn't do social media.
That can change.
Yeah.
No,
she's get her on for one episode.
Smarter than I am. So
yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, you guys. Well, does anybody have anything they want to talk about or add about the show?
That was awesome.
I'm excited. It seems like he hinted on the LiDAR, like scanning, and maybe some potential for caves or underground cavities or anomalies.
Yeah, that was interesting.
The face that he made when I asked about the geology, he was nodding like yes, but couldn't say anything. So I think there's a lot to come that he sort of teased but couldn't talk about, and that got me really excited.
Well, even when Jazz asked him about the LiDAR from the drone, he was like, he went just like this.
Yeah.
So that means something might be coming with that. You know, that's pretty cool.
Great. Well, and
let me ask you.
He said they have a ton of really cool things.
I'm an investigative journalist. I try to dig up questions like that. So,
what'd you say, Mike?
No, I was just saying that he was saying how excited he was about the experiments and the cool experiments they're doing in the upcoming shows. So that's exciting.
The portal opening one.
Do you have any thoughts on what you might want to see next episode, or maybe?
Well, we didn't get a chance to bring it up, but you know, the picture of the rods, like the rod.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I love that. We forgot about that.
Because Robert Bigelow, right? So those would have maybe been in his possession, and I always remind people in that December 2017 article, the biggest headline to me wasn't like the Tic Tac UFOs and all that, but it was about Robert Bigelow storing like metal alloys in his Las Vegas buildings. And then you have Brandon Fugel buying the property, naming it Adamantium Holdings before and that's
right.
And they talked about metamaterials a lot in this episode. So I'm hoping that there's something to come.
Yeah, from metamaterials.
And, I wish I had thought.
It would have been cool if Jane had asked about that, but I got the feeling from the answers we got.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I don't think Dragon would have
He wasn't going to spill on metamaterials.
He does know anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would have said anything.
Yeah. Would have been he get a reaction shot.
Yeah, he would have been commenting on pictures he had just seen for the first time. Yeah. You know, and he never gets to see again. So it's tough for him to even give us a real good opinion.
We definitely need a debrief interview with Cristina and the dragon.
We need to go on a road trip
soon.
Awesome.
Yes,
on location interview.
Go on location.
Cristina.
Can we send Cristina out?
Not all of us. We'll all go. It'll be like a family field trip.
Dude, we'll camp and roast marshmallows.
I kind of like streaming from the comfort of my home.
Me too.
I want to go out to the.
I'm an adventurer. I'm an adventurer. I want to be out on the road. I want to go. I want to go to Skinwalker. I'm dying to go.
I want to go there and do some.
Well, I don't think
meditations and things. Yeah,
I want to go fishing in my old fishing places. I do not want to be molested by poltergeists while I fish. So you guys go fight the giant wolves, and I'm going to go catch some trout. So
fair enough.
Let me know how it goes.
Unmolested trout fishing.
All right. Well, we've gone over 2 hours, so I don't know. Does anybody want to do calls tonight?
I'm beat, bro. I'm
pretty beat.
Oh, I'm already over my limit. I have to go.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I haven't had ice cream yet.
Yeah, well, Cristina hasn't had ice cream. Jane,
that's an issue.
Okay, so let's go ahead and end the show. So what we'll do is let's let Jazz go first. Jazz, is there anything you'd like to say before you go?
No.
Awesome.
Have a nice night, everyone. I had a great time.
That was fun.
Support all of these other 5 people that you see. I'm doing fine. Support these people. Support Jane. Support Cristina.
Jazz, I love you.
I'm sorry. It used to be Louise.
Lois.
It's now Lois.
Correct.
And Micah, which used to be Mike until Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Support these guys. And Carl is doing great. Support all these guys. I'm doing okay. Thank you for watching.
Bless you. Bless you, Jazz.
We'll see you on Friday, bud.
The man, the myth, the legend, Jazz Shaw.
Jazz Shaw. Oh, I cut him off right before he said something epic. It was so funny. I was just like, anything you want to end us on? No.
Oh.
And then he goes into it. I love it. Okay, so
he's something special.
Carl Vibe, I'm gonna leave the ladies for last. All right. We actually have a show this Friday.
That's right.
1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to find out all about Carl Vibe, and whoever wants to come and ask questions about
3
Carl.
p.m. Actually, we'll set that time and make sure and follow up. We'll post all over social media.
Wait, what did we say, Mike? Is it 1 p.m.?
It's 4 Eastern, 2 Mountain, 1 Pacific.
Right.
That's when we do. That's when Carl joins us here on this show.
Right.
And then right after that, Luis and I will be popping over directly into Carl Vibe's show, his brand new show
as well.
That's premiering Friday. And then Carl hops to Christina's show.
It's a busy day for Carl.
Yeah.
And we're going to be digging into meditation and how and the Gateway program and different methods of
remote viewing, right?
Yes, remote viewing and different aspects of making contact or having experiences with the phenomenon or triggering the phenomenon to occur and how that's happened through history. And we're going to deep dive into that.
That sounds sick.
Awesome, dude. Wow, I can't wait. That's going to be fun. Yeah. All right, Carl. Well, before you go, you want to tell anybody where they can find your stuff?
That's it. Just go to Carl Vibe on YouTube and check that out. That would make me thrilled. And on Instagram, same name. If you're interested, just hit me up.
All right, dude. Well, we'll see you Friday.
It's a pleasure, Carl.
Friday.
Thanks. That was great.
Later, brother.
Later, bud. All right, ladies. That was fun.
That was fun.
That was a blast.
Yeah, I'm so glad you girls got to stop by. And there's always a lot of men in the room, so I always want to say to you ladies, don't be afraid to step over us. Jane, you did great today. When you wanted to get a question, go for it. I never want to stop you ladies, so I never want to look like we're stepping all over you.
Don't worry at all.
Right,
It was awesome to even get the chance to be part of
well, there was a lot of people in the room. I wasn't expecting that many of you guys to show up, so it was fun. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough to sort of. You did
really good, Luis.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I wish we had asked the rod question. You're right. We didn't even touch on the rods.
Oh, I forgot about the rods.
Yeah. Well, he'll be back. Brian will be back. He'll be back. We'll ask him again. Even though we probably can't give us a crazy opinion on it. But either way, I'm glad he was so cool.
Dude,
all right, Cristina.
So cool and so chill and like not like he was totally okay with us being honest like that. Yeah. I got so much respect for that guy.
He begged for it.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want. He's got the skin of a dragon, but the heart of a Care Bear.
Dude, when he talked about his dad and when he's on the ranch, dude, I legit almost started crying.
Yeah.
Well, right before he mentioned that too, I was going along the lines of like thinking of the ghost community, like our, cohorts, if you will, and how it's kind of separated from UFOs, but Skinwalker Ranch is kind of.
It's I kind of the more and more I involve myself with this stuff, the more I kind of start to realize, man, maybe these things aren't as different as we think.
They coexist.
They could easily coexist. All of these things. But hey, you know what? One thing I wanted to tell you guys about, I actually forgot to mention. Just this conversation made me think of it. On Amazon, or is it Hulu? No, it's Hulu. There's a documentary about Bigfoot, and it was written by a really, really great reporter. And it's about this murders in Mendocino County in California, and how for a long time people thought it was a Bigfoot that killed these three guys. And it's a really cool 3-part like little detective series on Bigfoot, and like Bigfoot is like the main theme in it. And I was like, man, did Bigfoot kill these guys? And then you get to the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, it's still really cool. It's still really cool. So I would check it out. I can't remember what the hell it's called, but if you just type in Bigfoot and Hulu, if you guys have Hulu, highly recommend checking it out. Anyway, sorry. Cristina, you want to tell everybody where they can find your stuff before you go?
Wait, why are you guys laughing?
Because I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
I've just told this super long story about Bigfoot.
Yeah. I could have done completely without that. Could have just gone to, hey, Cristina, tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
You can find me here on Twitter at Eyes on the Skies and on YouTube at Paradigm Shifts, which Carl will be on the show on Friday. Take a look at that because he is an interesting figure. Guys, I mean, he is something cool, else. Dude. So
Carl's
that's gonna be fascinating. Yes. I want to see everyone there, but also support my man up here with the Singularity Lab that is beginning to blow up. Talking about fascinating topics, and we got beautiful UFO Jane over here. Go ahead and support her with her awesome reports, and of course, we got our
main man,
our man over here, who's hitting it 3 days a week. Our friend, Luis.
Amazing.
Oh, Cristina.
I
want more of that from you.
Yeah.
More. That was one of your best moments on the show. That little, follow this guy and this chick right here and this main dude. Love it. Yeah, it was awesome. Love it. I want to see more of that, Cristina, all the time.
I need ice cream.
Okay, stop eating ice cream before this show. No more ice cream before the show.
I have my ice cream.
Oh my god.
No more ice cream before the show if I can get this Cristina.
Oh.
Because look at her. Look at her face. I have a feeling she's looking at a mini fridge and she can see X-ray vision through the fridge. Okay, go get your ice cream. We'll see you later.
Get your ice cream. Follow her. Follow Eyes on the Skies, please. Get over there.
And follow Jazz too, because he is something else as well.
He is a promoter of everything.
Little firecracker.
Yes. That's if
Should
a
I
firecracker
not have called him out for falling asleep in front of the dragon? Was that mean?
I think it was.
It's our show. It's our show. That's our show. We call it. We're as honest as we possibly could be, and that was an honest moment. So it worked. All right, Cristina. We'll see you later, my lady.
Bye. Thank you
Cristina.
for having me.
Bye. UFO Jane. You are a queen, my lady. I'm so happy that you can join us on Wednesdays, man. I'm so happy I'm getting to know you.
This is a blast. This is so. I
I feel like you're the perfect person.
Perfect.
Yeah, you are the perfect person for Wednesdays, honestly. And even when the Skinwalker show ends in 8 weeks, that's another thing. Is this show gives me 10 full weeks of shows.
Yeah,
you know, so it's super easy to do this show because all I got to do is watch a show I'm going to watch anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's perfect, and yeah, even if we don't solve a single mystery, that'll be the story. So,
Well, okay. So tell everybody where they can find your stuff, Miss UFO Jane.
Yeah, I mean, people could just search UFO Jane, and hopefully I'll come up on YouTube. It's TX UFO sightings on Twitter and UFO Jane TX on Instagram. So it's a lot of TX, you know, to type.
Because you're a Texas girl.
Yeah, but if you search UFO Jane, hopefully I'll come up. Because so far I'm the only UFO Jane. So far. But
yeah, well, you're the only one as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just give it time though. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Jane. We'll see you next Wednesday, my lady.
Yep.
Bye, Jane. Good to see you.
All right, bye.
Wow,
man, Michael, that was a killer show, dude.
That was awesome.
That was fun,
dude. Again, I can't express how impressed I am with the dragon. That guy.
I knew he was gonna be great when he reached out to me and was like, I love what you guys did. I agreed with a lot of the stuff you guys said. And I was like, you're cool as shit, dude. You got to come on the show. If this is what you feel, come on the show, dude. Let's come hang out with us. And he did. Like, amazing. Here we are. If you go back and watch the first episode review of Skinwalker that we did, it was very honest.
It was very honest.
And it cut to the bone. And if somebody who didn't have a good sense of humor or wasn't listening to what we were saying could have easily taken that the wrong way and blaspheming our show or been like, you know, whatever. Uncool, never come on. Not Brian Arnold. Like, that dude was as real as you can, as what you saw. Like, he's just cool. He's cool people.
So impressive, man. I couldn't believe how chill he was and how, like, he wanted the truth and he's like, you know, I'm on the show. Like, he doesn't cut it, he doesn't direct it, he doesn't produce it, he doesn't do any of that.
He doesn't do anything.
And he was
I mean, it's so not cool. You know, and yeah, like, we know that, and I think that's a difference between, like, I think other shows that maybe review this and are bashing it, they never take that into account, that they're not editing it, they don't produce it, like. Well, and I also found it funny.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, the same production company, and I said that last week. This feels like the production team from The Curse of Oak Island producing the show, and that show took Oak Island's time slot as soon as the season ended, and it's produced by the same company. So that production company has a show on television all year. You can see it, like, it's a formula, and it's a formula that they 100%. Follow to the T. And 100%. I think if they watch this show, maybe they go, well, that's some interesting points. Maybe we could try that next year. But the formula's not changing.
Nope.
That ain't changing. Like, that's not going to change, man. But how cool though? Like, I think it's way, way more interesting to spend what I guess we get 45 minutes, 40 minutes, spend 20 minutes on that petroglyph, 20 solid good minutes on, let's get a closer look, let's analyze the age of it, let's get a real expert on petroglyphs to come out here maybe that could give us a better analysis. Because again, I thought Travis Taylor's explanation of it, I was like, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, I thought his explanation was actually more reasonable than the petroglyph guy. But I will say that, you know, again, to your point earlier, who knows how these things get cut? Who knows what else he said? You know, so we can't necessarily shit on the petroglyph guy either. We don't know what was cut out.
Right. That's true. I mean, that's true, dude. Like, the petroglyph guy maybe said some more brilliant stuff. Right. But I just feel like, I don't know, like, if they had included that clap, that he had, which I thought was I love that moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I would assume maybe he had a couple more other moments like that. So that's fair.
Yeah.
Maybe we just didn't get to see him.
Yeah, it's very possible. And, you know, I'm sorry, what's the astrobiologist's name again?
Travis Taylor.
Travis. Right. And Travis just loves to, like, be like, I think it's this.
Oh, for sure. No, I mean, look.
But I actually thought he was probably more. I think he was right. I mean, it looked exactly like that. It looked like they were drawing the stars. I mean, and to assume for the petroglyph guy to assume, and again, I don't know what else was cut out, but for him to assume that they were portals, like, come on. And like he was explaining it as like, well, this is their cosmology, this is their worldview, and you're like, wait, you don't.
Yeah, if it was, why'd you change your mind so fast? Right. Like why?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It's like,
but then maybe spend the last 20 minutes on the cow and really, like, man, I felt like there's a lot of good data. Like, I think taking apart the cow, showing maybe I could, and on the surface, I feel like this sounds very twisted and weird, but if you had taken that cow and put it on like one of those display tables like they have at like the Smithsonian when they're trying to recreate a bone or some sort of animal or something, and it's like lit from underneath.
Right.
If they had really sort of dove into how much of this animal was left, and then maybe, go buy a full boar hanging in a butcher shop and throw it out in the desert and see what happens. Film it for a week and then see what's left and then compare it to the cow. You know what I'm saying?
That's actually a fucking brilliant idea. If they would have taken a dead cow and like the exact same kind of cow and just put it out
maybe
there,
even put it right next to it,
and then just do like just film it constantly, and then do the what is it called, the
time lapse
photography.
Yeah,
dude, that would be brilliant, and it's just little tweaks like that.
Yeah, dude, would make it infinitely better. Better.
And I agree. I don't think the dating the petroglyphs would have made any difference when it comes to solving the mystery.
But it would have been nice.
It would have
to
added interesting context. Yeah, like it would have been fascinating, right?
It would have been fascinating, and just to hear that
it is
somebody.
The History Channel.
No, it is the History Channel, right? Like just to hear, like it would have been cool if you date that, and it turns out, somebody was here 3,000 years before Christ,
right?
And made this. Like, that is a lot of, that really adds, like you said, a lot of context to the history and what we're talking about. You know, so, I mean, dude, I just don't understand. I wish they would just slow down. Instead of going 100 miles an hour, why don't we slow down to 55 and do the speed limit? Because I think you're going to serve yourself better. You're going to be able to see more of the terrain, if that makes sense.
Bro, I agree with you, but I also think that when you're trying to capture the attention of the masses, like, it's not really about what we want. It's what the most people are willing to watch for the longest period of time. That's it.
But here's the thing is, I don't think they've tried it the other way. That's the problem. I would agree with that. No, I don't think there's ever been a show on Skinwalker that has taken itself more seriously than that one. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say that show wouldn't work because you've never really done it. Like, I think if you got a couple of badass cameras with some sick cinematographers and you shoot that petroglyph, you can make an entire episode just off of that. Honestly, like, if you really know how to write, if you narrate it correctly, and you really add context to what we're looking at, it is infinitely more interesting. And here's the thing, dude. The people that are watching this show, I don't know what the numbers are. I would love to know what the rating numbers are, because I have a feeling they're not. It's the #1 show on History Channel on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Compared to everything else that plays on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock, I would love to know the crowds. And if the crowd is small, like I think it is, it's probably a niche audience. You need to explore outside of that audience. Like, you need to attract, you need to do this with the audience, not this.
Right.
You know,
I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, but I also think that, they have a formula. They know that formula works, so they're going to go with what works, but it doesn't mean there aren't other formulas that aren't better. Yeah,
or just take a risk.
Yeah.
You're the History Channel. Take a risk. Or here's what you could do. Honestly, you could make 2 shows out of this. You can have your regular Secret of Skinwalker Ranch show with the dragon and the reality aspects to it, and then you do a behind the scenes episode. of what went into the decisions, why these things were looked at, and the ways they were looked at. And I think it would be another hit show. Like, it would almost be like you watch The Walking Dead, and then the very next thing that comes on is a roundtable discussion about The Walking Dead. Like, that's what they should be doing with this show. Every week they should have, you know, a Fugle, a Dragon, because they do it on the Hunt for Oak, or the Secret of Oak Island. They do it for like shows like Gold Rush and like, you know, the Crab Hunter show, the Deadliest Catch guys, like all of those reality shows. At the end of the year, they all sit down at a round table over beers, and they're like, you know, talk about the season, you know, like they should be doing that with this.
Right.
And I think you would get moments like we got with the Dragon tonight.
Right. Well, don't give History Channel too many ideas, or we don't get moments like that with the Dragon.
Dude, well, look, here's the thing. If History Channel does another thing like that, now we got 2 things to review a week. So go for it. Steal my idea. You know, I don't care. Or if you want, even better, call me and let me help you produce these things. So when I see, you know, oh, you guys are going to be looking at the cow, let's go buy a boar. You know, let's go buy something dead and put it out next to the cow. And if nothing touches it, then now there's something really strange, you know. Right. But if something just devours it, you know, over and it's right next to it, then we can be like, okay, now that's data too. That's still good data. Okay, wow, now this cow looks even crazier.
That's a great point.
It's I don't know. There's just they're so close for me.
We'll get our shot. We'll get our shot.
We'll get our shot. Yeah,
we'll get our shot.
Give me a call, History Channel.
We'll get our shot. Don't you worry.
Yeah, they'll give us a buzz.
Or Discovery Plus maybe. So we'll just, you know, hey History.
Yeah.
Hey. You know what? Hey. Yeah. Discovery Plus. Hey. You don't want to, you know.
Don't want to lose us to Discovery Plus. Maybe
don't want to lose us to Discovery Plus.
You know, who knows? Someone's gonna see value in these production notes.
They will.
I hope it's you guys.
It's coming.
Anyway, dude, thanks for hanging out, Mikey. That was a 2.5-hour show.
Yeah, brother. Great show.
It was a great show. Damn, it was a fun show. Thank you all for hanging out. Before you go, please tell everybody where they can find your stuff and what we're talking about tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. So hit us up in the description below. Just click on the links. Make sure you follow my Linktree over to the Singularity Lab. If you missed yesterday's show or the day or the show before that, go check those out because those are killer. And so we're going to be doing a show tomorrow night. I'm actually still working with the folks in Discord to figure out exactly all the details of that show, so I'm not going to give it away just yet. Okay. But if you want to be a part of the conversation and how we create these shows and build these shows, if you want to be on the inside, if you want to have a connection to the production process, just like we'd like to have a connection to the History Channel production process, be a part of this, be a part of the creation, be a part of the growth. Click the link, go check us out in Discord. You can actually talk to us in between shows, and you can help us come up with the content that we create, because it is for you. So make sure you click that link below. Follow the Singularity Lab over there. We're going live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Follow us on Discord. Follow me on Twitter at Singularity Mike. And make sure you follow Luis across social media, Lou Angeles on Twitter.
Thanks, man. All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you tomorrow.
I'm exhausted, dude.
Yeah. Well, go rest.
I'm gonna go rest. We'll do it all again tomorrow.
All right, buddy.
Later.
Bye. All right, you guys. So that was today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I had a blast talking to the Dragon, getting all the bunch of questions, the chats, the super chats you guys sent. Thank you so much for all the support that you constantly show this channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to like the video. That helps with the algorithm. It shows me that we're doing the right stuff. And also, don't forget to share. Hit that share button. Share this with your friends. Is this a show that you would share with people that maybe not be interested in the UFO UAP topic? I hope so, because those are the people we're really trying to reach, the everyday average citizen, and also give the nuggets of information that the hardcore fans also love. So that share button goes a long way in helping make sure that the channel grows. And yeah, check out the links. In the links, we've got the Discord. You guys again can join the discussion and how to shape these shows and questions to ask. And please check out the Patreon. I think it's the fairest, most fun Patreon on the market. So check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. The super chats help. All of these things you guys are doing financially to help out the show keep me from going back to working at Uber, you know? So I want to do this full time for you guys. If you guys also want this full-time content, then please consider supporting the channel. It goes a really, really long way. We've got some interesting conversations happening with some folks behind the scenes as far as how to brand the show, how to make sure that we can financially fund the show, so we can do this with little or no support from you guys financially. We're working on those things. There's so many ideas, so many hamster wheels being spun right now. I can't go into all of them. I'm not going to go into any of them because I don't want to set up expectations that we don't meet with you guys. So with all of that said, I want to say thank you to the sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995. Want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the tunes that you hear on the show. Their SoundCloud or their Bandcamp link is in the description below, along with the other Eclectic Method. He also provides tunes on the show. His link is also in the description below. So with all of that said, you guys, thank you so much for coming aboard, getting weird with me here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAPs and UFOs. Until next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Peace.